select board meeting back on, I guess.
Public session.
Yeah, public session at 6:19. If you'd all rise for the pledge of allegiance. Mr. Miller, would you please lead us?
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that honor.
All right. Is there a motion to seal the
Yep, do that.
public minutes?
I make a motion to seal
Public minutes?
the non-public minutes of April 2nd, May 2nd, excuse me,
May 2nd.
indefinitely, because it's determined the divulgence of this information likely would affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board and/or render a proposed action ineffective.
Second.
Motion by Carol, second by Les, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstains? Motion carries 4-0-0. Minutes? Anybody want to make a motion
Make a
to
motion.
accept them?
To accept the non-public and public meeting minutes of April 18th, 2024.
Second that?
All right, motion by Les, second by Carol. Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Passes 4-0-0. Consent agenda? Anybody want to take a stab?
I'll
since
do it.
I'm-
I'll make a motion
It's usually my
to
job.
approve the consent agenda for 5/2/24. Accounts payable payment manifest dated 4/24/24. Accounts payable payment manifest dated 5/2/24. Payroll payment manifest dated 4/25/24. Administrative abatement for map lot number 114-091 in the amount of $76.92. $36.63 for water and $40.29 for sewer. Credit for map lot number 114-091 in the amount of $16.31. $5.32 for water and $11 for sewer. Resignation of Charles Terrio from the trustees of the trust funds effective April 24th, 24. Administrative abatement for map lot number 220-015-140 in the amount of $489.55.
Second.
Second.
Yes.
Okay. Motion by Scott, second by Carol. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Passes 4-0-0. All right, moving right along the agenda. I will open the public hearing number 2 for the parsonage. Christina, what do we need to do
I
here?
think it's just that we talk about the project again.
Okay.
This is meeting number 2. I can remind what the process is. Whenever the town purchases a property, you have to go through a process. The first part was obviously to get the town meeting vote. The second parts were to go to the planning board and the conservation commission. And I put those in your package as well. Are you still frozen?
No, it's okay right this minute.
Okay.
Give it a minute, it'll freeze up again.
So just to read those into record, when we went to the Conservation Commission first on March 6th, they made a motion to authorize the chair to attend the parsonage property tour and to speak on behalf of the commission with any recommendations or comments. Mr. Batchelor attended the site visit on March 7th. He reported to the board and to the town administrator that there were no concerns with the proposed project, and per the authority granted by the commission, he would support the purchase and project as presented. The planning board met on March, sorry, my glasses are clogging. I broke a tooth, so. The planning board met on March 13th. They did a motion that after further discussion about the project and asking questions, the planning board Motion that they support the project as presented because it is in keeping with the master plan, improves parking for the downtown, and the demolition of the parsonage will provide better sight lines with safer access to sidewalks and driveways in this area. So that motion passed from the planning board. Then, now we come here, we have to hold 2 public hearings. We held the first one at the last meeting. This is our second public hearing. We talk about what the project is and answer any questions and comments that may come from the public. We did have 2 comments from the public that are also in your packages. Nope, that's the wrong one. I took the word out from the last one, but I might not have put it in here. So, I will let you know those comments without putting them up because there's a word that's probably not appropriate. The first comment received was March 16th. The main concern was parking. They were the ones who thought that we should redevelop the entrance with the Beano property and the parsonage property to make it one entrance that divulges to 2. They felt it would be better, it would be easier for the Beano residents to access that property, or anyone who is accessing this lot would be easier for them. The second comment was it would be good to put some sort of informational kiosk in the green space. It could give historical information as well as a map of the area. They would not want to see it being used for business advertising, although an information center would be another idea. Not recommending to move the Millstream building down to this property is what this person said. One issue for business owners in the square has been people coming in to use their bathrooms. They said there was already a sewer line in the area, so how about building a small building with 2 public toilets? So I think we talked about it at the last public hearing as well. We're obviously not ready to go that route, but I just wanted to mention that as part of the comments made for the public hearing.
Okay.
And then I don't know what you want to look at next. You have, from the last public hearing, you had asked that I put pictures in, so there's a folder in there with pictures. You'd also asked that I put in the original estimate that we received, which I think is, it's marked draft 1, the estimate and draft 1 parking lot drawing. So I brought that as well, so.
All right. Let's go to the public comments first. Sorry.
I have a question about the procedure. I read the statute today under which this hearing is required, and you mentioned that you brought this to the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board for their recommendation. It looks like you also need to bring it to the Historic District Commission for a recommendation.
So the town's attorney did not tell us that we had to do that, but we did bring it to the Historic District Commission as well. I just didn't bring that up here. I did the first meeting, sorry, Dorcas. So we did bring it to the Conservation Commission meeting as well, and they did not support the project. But we are not required to bring it to the Historic District Commission according to the town's attorney. We only have to bring it because we're purchasing. This hearing is for purchasing of town property. Or to purchase
But
property.
the statute says it has to go to the Historic District Commission.
The town's attorney didn't say that, so sorry, if I missed, I can certainly reach out. The town's attorney gave me a list of what I needed to do, and it wasn't to go to the Historic District. So.
But we did do that though, so.
We went
We should
and
be
had, when
compliant.
Sean was here, we did go to the Historic District to tell them about and show them the project, and we did get feedback from them that night. I think Sean shared that at your next meeting.
Would that have technically been part of the public hearing process?
I can ask the town's attorney.
Or was it before we started it?
No, we started it before town meeting. We did the HDC meeting, but right before town meeting. Once we had gotten the purchase and sales done, which took a long time to get finalized, then we started to meet with the different avenues that we needed to. So the Historic District was the first place that I went. and met with them. And then I went to the ones I knew I had to do, which was the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board.
Sorry,
No, go ahead, Carol.
and you said Conservation Commission didn't approve, or was that an error in what you said? I thought that was
No, they
approved.
approved.
No.
Did I say they
You
did?
said-
Well, yeah, but you meant historic, I think.
Oh, no, the Historic District didn't approve.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, no, but Conservation, I thought I said,
You did.
yeah, Richard was there, so.
Yeah.
Sorry. It might be this,
A
but.
lot of commissions.
But yeah, so Darkest, I'm just going by the process the attorney told me. I can certainly reach out and just double check. We did go to the commission, we didn't, and I don't think you took an official vote, but.
Right, we didn't know we were being asked to recommend it or not. We didn't know about it before that evening.
Right, which we didn't get it out to anybody before that evening, because I don't think we had a purchase and sales until just before that.
Yep.
It took us a while to finalize the purchase and sales, so.
Go ahead, Douglas.
Okay. I mean,
You got the stage.
yeah, I mean,
That's fine.
obviously I gave my spiel at a town meeting, and I'm still upset about the idea of tearing down the building. I just think we can't replace it once it's gone. I think if you think about examples of places that have torn down their structures, they regret it. If you think about Boston City Hall Plaza, do you think that was an improvement from Scully Square?
You know, when we set up the HDC, a lady came from the team and gave us an entire PowerPoint slide presentation of all the buildings they had lost and that they regretted because they couldn't save them.
Yes.
So I think what we're trying to say really is, why can't we take a breath, take a pause on this? Why can't we just see if there's somebody out there who'd be happy to buy it or rehab it? No one's been asked yet. That opportunity hasn't been put on the floor to anybody, and that's really
Well,
all
we'd
we're
like-
asking.
We'd like to know if that has conversation
The
has
seller
happened.
has indicated that
That
they
they-
do not want to do that, that the only way they want to do this is if the town was to purchase the property and they would be able to park.
Correct.
So that it's the seller who is setting the tone of what they want done with it.
So why doesn't the town buy it and then sell it on? They can still portion out the parking, that's all
Doesn't
these guys want.
seem like
That
it would
would-
be very,
So
But
then
once you
gotta-
own it, you can do what you want with it.
There was, part of the agreement was that we would tear it down.
That's cool, I'm sorry.
We're not gonna go back on our deal. We'd
Say-
be opening
say-
ourselves
Well,
up
then
to
maybe we
lawsuits.
should do
Okay,
it.
okay.
That actually is,
I've been
Hold-
a
Hold on,
member of that
hold on.
church
Yeah,
for
Raymond, go ahead,
years
since
and
you
years.
can speak for the church, or
And the, I'm sorry?
you can speak for the church, or
Well,
at least from
I
a
am
viewpoint of,
as a member,
yes.
maybe not active right now, but I was very active in the past. That building needs so much work, and there's only about 15 to 20 people that go to church. They can't afford to do anything with that building. We had talked about selling it in the past. The problem with selling it is you don't know who's gonna buy it and what they're gonna put in there, and what they're going to be, or what they're going to do on a Sunday morning when church services are going on. We went through this for years and years. I was the head trustee, and they didn't want to sell any of it. They don't want to sell it because they don't know what would go in there.
Although
The
that-
church can't, the parishioners cannot support that building at all. They can barely support the church. So the best thing for the Baptist church members is to have the building torn down.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to add something to Ramos.
Yeah.
So I didn't mention that in the purchase and sales, but the purchase and sales agreement, it also has a clause in there for a memorandum of understanding or an easement that as long as the church operates as a church, they will have the rights to use the parking on church services and funerals. If they cease to operate as a church in the future, then the parking would revert to the town without an easement anymore. I can't remember if that was the only thing that was in the purchase and sales besides that, but But in all the conversations that we've had with the church, including the night Susie Putnam, I almost said Butler. Susie Putnam came to the historic district. They did indicate that they want the building torn down when we went into this agreement with them, so.
For some reason, they've been wanting that for a very long time. Never really understood
At least
why.
15 years.
They've been coming, Claire and I aren't on HTC anymore, but she came in right at the beginning when we first formed. For some reason, I don't understand why she has this hatred of that building, other than it pulls money from the church, that's what it is. It's been pulling money from the church, and when the pastor was living there, they had to keep it up to a level that was safe for him to live, and it was costing them money. So that's why they've had this vision of just getting rid of it. But that's a very short-sighted vision for the town of Bristol, and I'm not sure that purchase and sale should have been entered into without you having permission from all the boards to do that.
The purchase and sales could be entered into at any time. It's what you do afterwards before you do the deed, that's the process.
Well, the
you
thing
have
is,
to
if you've
follow.
written a purchase and sale agreement that says that it's required for you to tear down the building, and the HTC has a freaking ordinance that says you have to get permission to do that, aren't we putting the cart before the horse something here? I mean, it's just my opinion, but it would have been nice to have figured all that out before somebody wrote a purchase and sales agreement.
It
Well,
does feel a little bit like it was an element of surprise that was not
Done it.
necessary.
That-
This could have been done so much better.
So that's part,
Okay.
Go ahead.
right? So I don't know the exact RSA, but when a municipality goes into a purchase sales agreement, they do not have to disclose all that information. They keep it quiet.
Well, they can't.
Because
They
they can't,
disclose.
right? So because, and there's a reason for that.
Until it's signed, they can't disclose any of the discussions or negotiations, or even their intent to do it, until that purchase and sales was signed, so.
Because
So that-
it protects the
So
municipality.
what's the point of
To
this
be-
hearing tonight?
Yeah.
What could possibly happen differently after this hearing tonight?
Nothing
That would be up to the board.
for nothing, right?
So excuse me,
Go
sorry.
ahead, Carol. Carol, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, correct.
Huh?
Well, you're asking my name.
Yes. Said, go ahead.
Okay, so as far as the votes went,
Not until the 16th.
as far as the warrant,
The warrant vote on the warrant
so what
was March.
can we, no, I get that, what can we not change because of the way that vote went?
I don't know, I'd have to check. I think it's just, I don't know if you could, because it does say demolish in your warrant article. I don't know if you could not demolish it because it wasn't changed at town meeting. I can check that before your next vote
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
make sure, yeah.
On that one, check that, it says there that you can do that, but I don't know that a warrant says you specifically have to, if that's what it is.
The warrant says that the intent was for the purchase of the parsonage and parking lot, included demolition
Right,
and.
and the money for all those things was, basically the warrant approved money for all those things.
Right.
Which means we can do all those things. It's
Right.
not saying we have to do
Correct,
any or all of those things. It could be one or two of those things. that we could-
correct. We just
Okay.
couldn't expend more money.
Yeah, we just can't
I
spend
think
it.
also, I mean,
But
why-
it could be changed that we don't do all this, to
Why
answer the question.
couldn't we just decide to go down the road of trying to be creative in a way that could meet the needs of the church if they had the right owner of the building?
Right.
Yeah.
And if we had the conversation, why can't we as a town and the church have a conversation about it and people that care about historic resources and how our town looks, frankly? Why can't we decide to have a conversation instead of saying this has to be pounded down everybody's throats? What would that hurt?
So slightly different question, because we had some of this debate at town meeting.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And we were very specific, I think, when we ended up voting at town meeting.
Yeah.
So if we do anything other than what we said at town meeting,
We're going
why is
against.
that okay?
So
That's, I guess, I'm not saying.
So then what's the point of this hearing?
Well,
That's what
The
we're,
point is
original question.
whether they purchased the property or not.
If I might, weren't you just appropriating the funding to do those things? You weren't specifically agreeing to do those things.
And that's the way I understand the warrant.
Correct, yeah.
Is the warrant wasn't to say this is what we're going to do. For example, go way back a few years to the sewer extension to the lake. That gave the select board basically $20 million that they could have gone and spent the next day for that entire project.
Mhm.
But as the project went along, it was deemed, okay, this is too expensive to do. We only did portions of it. So you don't have to specifically do everything that you spell out.
Right.
Town meeting warrants are like that, are for appropriating the money and saying what the money can be used for.
Okay,
It doesn't
so-
say, it never says that it has to be used for, yeah.
So I guess I'll reiterate what I said at town meeting when we had this thing, like if we were having a discussion that's time bound as a citizen, then, you know, I'm definitely more supportive of it. However, the only real problem I have right now is procedural, where I'm thinking, if that's true, then why did we have so much debate at town meeting where we went back and forth? Like, we give the impression of the voters that they have a certain amount of control and say in what we're doing, how we do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And that sort of goes again, that's
town meeting.
Yeah. Well, I just-
Not to be glib, but that's the way town meeting is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But
Go ahead,
I
Wes.
feel strongly that at town, we made our case of what we were doing at town meeting in all good faith to the voters. And we wanted that feedback to say,
Yeah.
you know, are you in favor of this, or are you not in favor of this?
But we didn't
Look,
have
can
the
I finish what I'm
discussion,
saying,
sorry.
please? So.
excuse me?
Hold on.
No,
Hold on.
I have the floor.
Yeah, go ahead. Wes.
So, we had that discussion, and I understand, I love the historic buildings in this community. I love what was done at Old Town Hall. I love old buildings. I've been to this building. It's not a building that, I would love to be able to say, you know what, it has such potential, but going through that building, I didn't feel that way in any way, shape, or form. But the bottom line is, the person that owns that building has made an agreement with the town of Bristol that they want it taken down. That is the agreement. They're not gonna sell it to us for us to say, well, now let's think about what we wanna do with it. That was the understanding. So if we aren't going to take that building down, we're not gonna own that property anyway. So it becomes a moot point. And I understand the passion of wanting to keep that building. I applaud that. But I think it was clear at town meeting with the vote, and then with the feedback of what should we do with the property, that the majority felt this was the way to go. And I would think we would not be doing our due diligence to come in now with a few people in the room that are speaking against it, and not a crowd of people in the room that felt they didn't have the opportunity at town meeting. So, and I also have to say, Dorcas, if you had allowed a time on that, your motion, and said, okay, 6 months to a year, I think it would have passed that day. I think people were hoping that we could put a time frame on it, and I think we would have voted in favor of it. But we'd still be going against what the seller wants.
My apologies, Les.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's passionate. It's passionate. No,
I
not.
just wanted to say that I
June.
think our problem
June.
is that.
I raised my hand to talk.
I just
I'm not learning stuff.
Don't make me separate you two. Go ahead, Sandra. Then
to
we'll get
have
to it.
these discussions before town meeting, like these.
Right.
So that people who went to town meeting knew what was going on, because I don't think most people really knew anything about it at town meeting.
Yeah, it was a surprise on the planning board. I sat on planning board at the time. It was sort of a surprise that it came there too. Sorry, Clay. go ahead.
So there was a lot of conversation at town meeting that probably required a lot more time than was given at town meeting. And had that resolution been adopted, or that amendment to the warrant article been adopted to give more time, or to have a study session, to devote to figuring out other options, what would have happened to the purchase and sale agreement if somebody had come up with viable options other than the tearing down of the structure? What would the select board have done?
I don't think the church would have entered into any more agreement with us if we weren't doing exactly what we said we'd do.
But that
What
would,
they said we'd do.
okay, but that would have violated the trust of the town, the townspeople, the town body at town meeting if they thought we were gonna take time to look at other options. And there were other options.
The only other option would have been to say, this is where the town wants us to go. And the church would then probably say, then we're not entering into an agreement with you. So we had no control over the alternate solution that you speak of. We wouldn't have had control over that because the church could easily just say, that wasn't the agreement, we're not selling it, we'll sell it to somebody else or we'll do something else.
Right.
They'd probably let it fall in
Yeah.
because they don't have any money.
And
And I feel bad about that because I love that
Mhm.
building. I went to Sunday school there for years.
So,
I've been,
so what if
you know, I've been so, but the church doesn't have the money. And I think if anyone wants them to keep the building, they need to donate to the church to keep the building because nobody else has the money for
What
it.
if someone had offered to spend significantly more money for the building, give that to the church, and not tear it down? Would the church, is it really just a function of money? Because there are people out there with money who would buy that building.
Yeah, but
I don't
the
think-
church doesn't want them to buy the building and do something with it.
But the
If
church
they
is,
dare.
under a
Mr.
purchase and
Chair.
sale agreement, that specifically said, we want you to do these things, and then the buyer would be bound to those things, just like you're binding the town to that.
If the-
So-
if-
Okay, so,
if-
hold on, Chair, hold on there.
I was contacted by the trustees after town meeting, and they were approached and were asked if they'd sell the property, and they said no. They were working with the town. So the church wants the town to have the property with the stipulations that the building would be taken down. But if you chose not to do that, they can withdraw from the purchase and sales, and then I'm not sure what they would do at that point.
Carol, you wanna? hold on?
So I'll follow up on what Les said, because not everybody was involved in this.
I was not involved in it.
Right.
I'm new
So-
on the board.
First off, and really importantly, and I want you to hear this because I'm aggravated about this. There was no hiding, there was no secret, there was no plot. And people that keep saying that, I will tell them that to their face. I'm aggravated by that. That did not happen. What we did was we were very, very careful about making sure we didn't violate any privacy concerns about a purchase and sales and the fact that they came to us in confidence to bring this forward. So there was no secret plot to hide it from the public. And say what you will, it is not what happened. That's number one. And number two, it was really clear that they came to us with a plan. And if anybody in the world doesn't like what they want to do with their house, too bad. I mean, what are you gonna say? It's their place. They can choose what they want to do with it. You can disagree all you want, you, whoever you are. But it's not that, it's their call. So if you want us to say, no, we don't want to do this because you want them to do something else with it, you can't make them. They may not, and as Raymond said, they may just let it fall in. So we're where we're at, and we're at with the voting on the town meeting, but to Dorcas's point, well, it seems like these public hearings should have happened before the process, but that's not how it has to be done. So thank you for listening to that, and I'm back up everything Les just said.
The public hearing is mainly to decide if you're going to buy it or not. That's what, you have to do these public hearings and these steps in order to purchase property.
Right, so we had to ask the voters first if they wanted to spend the money.
Right.
Now we have to decide, are we going to spend it?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Dorcas, you made the comment too, it's like, well, what's the purpose of the hearings if nothing's gonna change? And, yeah, I almost asked the same question, but you have to follow the rules and the law to do it. So, at this point, since the sales agree, the only way that they will sell it to the town is to take it down, and that's what it seems like the vote was, that's more or less what's gonna happen. It sort
I mean,
of stinks that you know,
Well, the other,
why have your input if it's not gonna do anything? I understand that point, and I don't have a good answer for it.
So, John, we,
Good.
just to close that little circle, could theoretically, could we vote and say we don't wanna buy this? I'm gonna say
We
no,
could.
because the voters said they wanted to do it.
Theoretically, you could, because the voters have given you permission to expend the money, but if not everything meets your expectations, or not all of the recommendations came through, you could vote not to buy it. And then that money wouldn't be appropriated,
Right.
and would go back into the state, go back to
That would be
the-
appropriate to just go into the general fund.
I think, I mean, the only thing I can say about recommending that the town not buy it is that it'll force a different solution. It would make the church have to think again about how they manage that property.
But is that our job? That's not our job.
Well, it's not, but should it be the town's job to take care of people's problems and tear down buildings in its historic district? I don't think so.
No,
But
it is our
the
job
point,
for
the point,
parking.
yeah, the parking is the point here.
But we need housing too, right? What's more important right now, housing or
Parking.
Downtown,
Why, what's the
Why?
point of parking in front of a shop when you go in there and there's no one to serve you because no one stays there? Yeah, I'm never gonna do it. Nothing's gonna change.
What comes
Thank you.
first?
no, thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, Are we done?
Okay.
Thanks.
I don't know what else, I mean, we in the past, we did share the estimate, and we shared the screen, the plans in the past meeting. We didn't do that unless we went right to the public part, but I don't know.
We have one more of these.
We have one more, but it's not for public hearing, it's your vote, period.
Would you check with,
Yep.
legal about what Dorcas brought up and make sure that we're good with having seen the historic district
I put
commission?
them both down, yep.
And what can we do after these hearings are over? Can we legally vote to turn over what the voters, can we,
You can vote not to follow, I mean,
Well,
I
can we
wrote that
vote
down to
not to
follow.
buy this at this?
yeah, oh yeah, that's always an option. If the-
Because something could change in the purchase, you don't know in the purchase and sales as you're going through these
No, I
processes.
get it, just wanna make sure that,
Or something
You get
could
the
come up
process
with the
right.
estimates out of the blue, there could be some unknown thing that could come out, and you may be, you may decide, no, I'm not gonna go through with this. So you could make those decisions,
okay,
but,
okay, just wanna make sure we're, but before we're done with this, we got the process
Yep.
nailed down, absolutely.
so, we are currently in process of the unmerger, getting, in the survey, the lot was involuntarily merged years ago. So we're in the process of doing that. It would have to be done anyway, no matter if we purchase the property or not. But in the agreement, we're doing that, and the church would have to pay those costs back if the sale falls through. And we're also submitted for the historic review, so we submitted that as well. Finally, and then once those things are done, they've already done their part in the building. They've cleaned everything up that we asked them to. And we would plan, if you vote, to go through with a closing on this sometime end of May, beginning of June, roughly. And then we go out to bid and all that. If you proceed with everything as normal, if anything changes, that timeline would all change. But that's where we're at right now, so.
Any further comments?
I think it's a bad idea to go against what the voters voted for at town meeting. I think that, that was what the voters had decided, that's what they wanted. And I think we all feel the same thing about historic buildings, but I also think you have to think about what if they ever sold it, which I don't think they ever will. I think they'll let it fall in before it gets sold. That whatever is in that building is going to affect the church. Whether there's 15 members or 150 members, it's gonna affect the church.
Right.
And I think that's why the church just wants to get rid of it. It's doesn't do them any good. They don't use it at all anymore.
And
Sure.
And I'm not saying we should go against the voters. I want to make sure that we got a process, that everything's in order and we do this properly, so that so that there's no questions, that's all.
And Christina, you had read a comment from somebody from the public that talked about trying to do the entrance differently. The only thing I would worry about there is if we ever did that, then it becomes mentally all one parking lot, so just, anyway, it's just,
We did talk about that, the last public hearing, and we don't think.
I mean, we're obviously a million miles from that, but just,
Yeah.
This was the original plan, and with realigning the driveway back off of the corner so that you have more clear line of sight, but the cost to do this, it was $200,000 fee. So the board cut it back, oops, and so going back to, that's the right one,
yeah, I
yes.
mean, yeah.
It has to be widened to make it compliant,
Yeah.
and then there would be paving put back on the front part of this. But there is a there's a substantial wall between the two properties.
Oh, the elevation
And I
change
need to
between the
be
two,
aware
I think,
about it.
there's no way you can share a driveway.
Right.
but, yeah.
So-
Anyways, that,
And I
just when
think
they said
we
that,
all
I was
agreed
like,
that was not a good solution
No.
to do it.
okay.
I think the idea was to get a little bit more green space, a little bit more lawn there at the park.
And have only one entrance rather than
Right.
two.
100%.
I mean, my other comment too is if this happens and demolish the building, just that it not just be a dust bowl, you know, I mean, some real thought be given to landscaping this nicely.
Oh, yeah.
And I also kind of think, I mean, this is bigger picture thinking, but, you know, we're sort of, I'm a little concerned with the way we're managing our green space resources. I think maybe we should be thinking about like sort of a master plan for the town in terms of, no, but not the whole master, but just in terms of signage, like making it all this.
I got a slipper $20 or something on the way up.
Like, making
What
it
master
visually
plan?
all work together, that we're not just putting in a bench willy-nilly in
100%.
every place.
Right.
We want this to be cohesive, we want this to be attractive.
Which at first, Dorcas, there won't be a lot because that is very bare bones minimum budget. But I think going forward, I think if this goes forward, that's a great idea. It does make sense to do.
It's really, really important, and to plant trees, we need
Yes.
more trees, we took down trees, we need
Yep.
trees.
Yeah,
We're
we talked
we're
about that.
pursuing the tree replacement too, so just so you know.
I mean, just the whole update of the HTC section of the master plan. It's one of my comments for later when I get up, but like, yeah, we'll be
That's not
talking
why
about
you're
that
here.
more. Too late.
So I'm trying to leave on a positive.
Yeah,
I
no, no,
I
thank
know
you.
your job is hard, you know, and
Yep.
I just think about like people here, I mean, Les would remember the Kimball house that used
Oh,
to
yeah,
be
yeah.
by the Dead River, and that would, you know, within my lifetime, that was demolished, and that would be much more attractive if it was there and functioning as a house, you know, we're losing our historic resources, and it's,
So what's that? What's that in the pictures?
I don't like to see it chipped away, but,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
understand.
Right.
Thank you, Dora.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Dude, I don't know if you have
All right,
anything else
we
that
get
you
that
want
outside.
to add? Anybody?
I was gonna say,
Thanks a lot. See you later.
does anybody want to add anything from the board? I will close the public hearing then at this
We
point.
shouldn't now that people.
I will get the answers to some of those
7:55.
questions for the next meeting.
6:55.
What's that?
6:55? Did you say 7:55?
Oh, I said 6:55, sorry.
I will get some of those questions for your meetings before you take your vote, on the 16th.
Yeah, see if the presentation that you did to the HDC counts.
It's not in the statute.
Oh,
Well, it's
okay.
not it's not in the last two things that we've done, we've not gone to the HTC first for.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
think, I don't know, but I'm asking the attorney to be safe though, and I'll see if that counts, because
Yeah.
Sean was there, the two HDC other two members were there, Sean was for the project, and the other two HDC members were not.
Okay.
Can we take 5-minute break
Yeah.
without the camera on? Please?
You saying we wanna go into non-public?
No, I just want to take a break.
Break.
He needs to get
Can we
air.
have a recess?
All right.
You need to get air.
Get water here.
We had action.
All right, thanks, Dave.
No action.
All right, we are back in session at 7:03. Everybody took their breaks. Next on the agenda is Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid Update. Ben?
So,
Chief.
under number 5 in your packets, you'll see the letter, that Ben is gonna be talking to you among other things, and then we have 2 things under Ben we wanna add, but we'll start with that.
Number 5,
Sorry, Ben. Yeah,
change order or?
Number 5 under the regular, you see it? It says
Twinnell building?
Yeah.
Building? Do we know?
Yeah,
Thank you, got it.
got it, okay.
So, just an update where obviously the lack of a sale of the state school property has been pretty well covered in the news, so not to really hit that, but part of that whole process is that the Communications Center for Lakes Region as well as E911 in Laconia are co-located in a building right on the front of that property. So basically from the word go, we've, as Lakes Region, have been communicating with Governor and Council and the Charlie Harlinghouse and all that committee to say, hey, we have a vested interest here and need to be able to continue to operate. So ultimately, the kind of short and long is that it was said, yep, the relationship between the two agencies makes a ton of sense. There's a lot of shared infrastructure. There's a lot of backup and redundancy that comes from being co-located like we are. And that we recognize that we're gonna have to build a new E911 facility in the Lakes region, and we're gonna do that, and everything will be great. And the only thing that's gonna change is the address. So then you begin the process of trying to lay out a building and arguing about who's got what square footage and how many bathrooms are you sharing and the whole 9 yards. And I think at least the latest version that I've seen, it's not a huge reduction from what Lakes Region has in that current building, but there's a small reduction. And of course, every time it comes up that there's going to be costs associated with the move. You can't just say, well, take all of your equipment in this communications room and move it over there. Because even if it takes a day, you're down for a day. And the truth is it's going to probably take somewhere in the range of months to get everything in place and fine-tuned to where you're operational. So not that everything has to be bought new, but there's some big cost items that when you move buildings like that for a district that, whatever last year's number was, 30,000 incidents in the Lakes region, you can't just shut down for a couple of weeks. There's redundancy with capital fire alarms, so when one of us goes down, the other one can pick it up. But to say we're going to move operations to Concord for 2 months is not feasible. So that's kind of where we got to. And then at one of the most recent meetings they had about the building, the architects or whatever, and of course, maybe back in the day we used to get these RS means numbers that were super high, cost per square footage to build a theoretical building. They certainly seem more in line with what the actual costs are. So the latest estimate between purchase of property and building that building is like $24 million. So I think the state had something in mind regarding some ARPA funds that are available that may or may not have gone to fund this building, or it was another building, something, doesn't matter. Either way, they're nowhere near that amount. There's no funding for it. So I think part of the concern right now is that now we've got this huge price tag, and so what's the next ask going to be as far as whether it's losing more square footage, which just is not possible, or I was just talking to the board, the executive committee chair, and I said, they're going to say, well, we're $10 million short, maybe you could come up with 4. And the truth is, amongst the 35 communities that make up Lakes Region, you can't come up with really anything. Even the idea, and it's highlighted in the letter, of potential moving costs of $700,000 are pretty substantial. Now, maybe to a town like us, if you said, oh, okay, listen, for 5 years to get it done, it's a few $1,000s more, or one-time $20,000 or $30,000, it's still a pretty decent investment. Somebody will yell at me on the board for that. But my point behind it is that it's just going to disintegrate the system. There's towns right now that are value heavy that are already paying a substantial amount to not use the system a lot. Then there's towns like the Ellsworths and Warren and Wentworths that do 4 or 50 calls a year that are paying $16,000, $20,000 a year as it is to tack on a $30,000 payment or $30,000 worth of a loan payment. And that's just that couple $100,000. So
It's just not feasible. Ultimately, the idea was, just make sure that the boards understand what's going on, that we're actively trying to figure this out, and that we really, as a board and as an executive committee at Lakes Region, we're sticking by the original, which was the only thing that's going to change is the address, and this cannot cost the Lakes Region communities anything. Now, it does talk about it in the letter that piece with those two buildings, which are the building with all the antennas, and then the smaller building that was like Lakes Region Planning Commission, or it wasn't Planning Commission, it was something else over there. Kind of the two forward buildings, brick buildings that you can see on that property. Those were subdivided years ago, really to protect something like this from happening. If I remember the timeline right, I think it was around the time the prison closed, and what were you going to do with that? And so let's take these buildings that we're at least currently using and make sure that if we need to continue to have them, then we could sell off the other 220 acres and still have this 3 or 6 or whatever it is. So it's certainly possible, to whether it's some type of a sale agreement, whether it's some type of you're still going to continue to have a state property there, so let's just transfer ownership and be done with it. Who knows where it'll lie, but that's kind of where it sits today, and so you know what's going on. We're trying to make sure it doesn't cost any more. It really just can't, and we certainly don't want to lose any space. I mean, Lakes Region as it sits, we could use a little more space in that building, the communication center, but it's a good building. It has the amenities that are needed to run the way that does run, to offer the trainings that we're able to offer in that building, and it's really it. So when you lose any of that, it's a big loss to the system.
So just for clarity, so they want to sell that whole property, and part of that property is those two buildings, correct?
Yes.
Is that for the cameras?
Yeah.
And then, but there is a possibility that it could be subdivided, or it already is subdivided.
It already is technically subdivided, yeah.
The state could turn over ownership to Lakes Region Mutual and then sell off the rest.
Correct. The concern is obviously, right, if you're a developer, that you probably don't want to lose what is probably a prime piece of the property.
Application,
Yeah.
But, I really think at the end of the day, as a state, if $24 million is a big pill to swallow, then you know what I mean? You gotta make a decision one way or the other, and who knows what developers are thinking. Obviously, nobody was interested in supporting $21 million for whatever reason they didn't want to, but everything any closer to that was $10 million, right? So $10 million is a lot of money, but if you gotta then turn around and spend $24 million on a building, is it the best investment? And maybe it is, but at least the versions that I've seen, it's not like saying, okay, here's an opportunity that we built this facility into an existing facility. We could really build, right? We could use more conference rooms, or we could use a space for this, or we could move some other state function or some other Lakes Region function. That's not happening. You're just trying to fit the round peg in the square hole in a new building and hope it comes out as cheap as possible.
Do they have a property in mind that they're proposing to move to?
The talk is still looking at a property on Meredith Center Road. There was a property proposed a while back. I know they started looking at other properties. So I'm not saying 100% that they're looking at this property. The property across from Robbie Mills was the initial site proposed, which would be a great location, and basically the same location. And as far as, there was some talk with Laconia as far as bringing water and sewer up to there, because they've wanted to do it, but now you could maybe somewhat cost share that or something. Again, just as recently as last month, we were looking at other properties in that area on Old North Main and kind of across the road, and the last word is a property on Meredith Center Road, whether it's that one or a different one, I'm not totally sure. Might be right next to the dump.
Hey, we might have a property in Bristol we could own.
Yeah.
It's got water and sewer to it already.
It does. Yeah.
And we'll give it
It's
to
that
him. We'll give it to him for 12 million, how's that?
So that's really it. There's a an executive committee meeting and a board of directors meeting next Wednesday, which I'm sure most of executive committee will be on this topic. So if there's any more, I will provide an update, but I don't expect there's probably going to be any more, or if there's anything different, because it's kind of the ball rolled relatively quickly after the drop dead April 22nd date. So. That's Lakes Region in a nutshell.
All right, any other questions for Ben?
No, thanks for the update.
Thank you for the update.
So if the board would, there are two other things, two other small things under that weren't on the agenda.
Okay.
Under number 5 as well, we wanted to have a discussion with the board about change orders, a change order discussion. We don't want you to approve it per se right now, but we want to have a discussion about a change order that's been proposed for bollards. I can let Ben explain what the intent was. I have the opinions from the committee. I have opinion from Rob Lassett that I will share with the group, and then Ben also has his own opinion. So.
Yeah, so we were approached, Scott in particular, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but Scott had brought up, as we were at the building the last time, all of us as a group, that it appeared that there was a potential need for some more bollards in the front of the station. Specifically around, right, so the bollards are set up so that if you misalign the truck with the door, you don't crash into the edge of the door. Which is pretty standard. But obviously the front of that building is a little bit different than the front of your standard garage or the apparatus bay as it exists now. And you got some corners between the smaller bay to the bigger bay. There's a corner there, and then the bump out creates 2 other corners that are a potential issue. So we had Gruen work up a quote to add those bollards in those corner locations.
I'm seeing for a picture, but here you can
That
see.
one there, that's one
These
there.
are the existing bollards, you can see them, but it's over here, right?
No,
It's all
right over right in the dead center is in that corner, right there.
There's a bollard.
Protecting that, yeah, but not
Oh,
coming
right
from the
here.
other door,
One
the other
there.
side.
Yeah.
That side's all exposed.
So the quote effectively is for, I think, 3 bollards, and it would add one here to this corner, you know, kind of, it would be in line with this, but here. It would be in line with this, but here, and
I thought the bump out.
yeah.
Oh, that is the bump out, sorry,
Yeah.
never mind.
And then one here, so this one is closer to the door than it looks, but it would, obviously there's another bay around that corner. So I looked at the quote, I looked at the building, I wasn't at the Public Safety Building Committee meeting last week. So to me, when I look at it, I understand the thought process behind it. Some of it was 1, to protect the corner, and 2, the issue of tail whip, particularly with the longer, like the ladder, engine 4, engine 2's tail whip isn't too bad. And the one thing I would say is that picture doesn't quite do it justice. So the one going in between the small bay and the bigger section of the bay is that corner. That's like kind of a smaller corner. Yeah, where that bag or something is. So there's like, I don't know, maybe like 3 inches exposed. Now you could hit 3 inches and that could be an issue, but there's that. The other side of it is that at least from a tail whip perspective, you definitely really aren't, anything can happen.
I think it's more backing into that. I don't know, it's just, I don't think we need 3 right? I mean, I never pictured 3, I think I just pictured the 1. And that, between the small door, well, where the bump out is.
Very far end.
Right in the dead
You
center.
need 2.
Right there.
1 on each side.
Right here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Both bump outs, both little, or bump,
I mean, the other side, you're not gonna have anybody backing in, but there, you could be backing in and clip that corner.
Yeah, this would be harder, I would think,
Yeah.
but this one, maybe.
You know, we
I
take both of them.
I can share the comments from,
Sure.
I know Rob didn't support this, but I didn't write down, I think he talked to you though, Ben, did he give you any input? So when I talked to Rob, he didn't support it, and he was gonna speak against it, but then I didn't get all of his reasons why. The committee members, there was, comments about that we've already had an issue, considering a root cause analysis, if there could save the town issues, they thought it was a good idea to put them in. Cheap insurance policy, future equipment operators may not be as savvy. And it provides protection to the entrance the errant driver coming off the road is what they were saying, so. But I thought 3 was too much, but.
And one thing you
Yeah,
have to,
you could probably, I mean, one of my, you could probably do away with one on the very far end
Yeah. There's,
than the other.
This
there's,
one,
yeah,
isn't there another bay on the other side of that?
no, on the other
yes.
side of this.
Oh, there is, yeah, there
There
is,
is.
yeah, there's the roof.
Yep, never mind.
Yeah,
Okay,
oh, so
this
if there is,
is
right, so,
Yeah.
2 ballots.
so it's the same,
It's the one by the bag.
Yeah, you can't see it in any of these pictures, but
yeah, a small bump out.
There.
Keep
you
going.
can barely see it, but yeah.
Yeah, so same thing on that side.
One thing you can consider is that the construction of this building is concrete. It's,
But that, right, if it gets damaged bad enough, it's gonna be difficult to repair, if, worst case.
Well, that's a good point.
from what I understand, this stuff gets so strong because of the way it's made, you have trouble drilling holes through it. I know Farmington said that they were trying to do some modifications and they actually had a very hard time drilling through this.
I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot of money,
I guess
It doesn't seem like much.
How much money is it? I can't read it.
45.
$4,530.63.
For 3 of them. Or, no, it's more than. It shows 5.
45, 30.
Bollard covers 3 each.
Oh, covers,
So
sorry.
those must be 3 bollards, I would say.
Yeah. It's for 4,500. I know, someone who's no longer on the board would probably tell you, aren't your drivers good enough that they're gonna have to be, that they're gonna be backing into things?
Jay's not here.
I was gonna say, that was good impression. We all knew.
Well, based on how much it costs to fix that little damage on this station, if someone backs into, it hits something, they may not damage the concrete, but they're gonna damage the siding.
Yeah, the siding and everything else is gonna get trashed.
I don't know, I just
So I
think it's a
guess-
small cost.
I guess I said you didn't have to vote on it, but I think we can't delay it for another 2 weeks
No,
if
'cause
we
if
were
they
gonna
s-
do this, can we, Ben?
Probably not.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if they're,
I mean, this is something we could put in later too.
No, well, not once it's paved. You're gonna dig up pavement?
well, I
It's
would,
not-
I mean, I would
it's not
disagree to
great.
some degree, only because, so one of the concerns, and I didn't really look any more into it because, I don't really love the idea of doing it, I'll just be honest with you. I get it that it is maybe a cheap insurance policy, I think it's gonna look like garbage, but, it is what it is. So my concern is, like, the 750, I don't even think is a real number, because the only place that you would have to core is on the small bay to big bay.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just dirt. You
Oh,
wouldn't
fill.
put it in any of the concrete. So it would be out in the dirt section.
In the dirt.
It'd probably be even with 4 and then even with the one down in the corner. So I think if we go with those 2, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think it'll be a little bit cheaper. I do think that even a little bit cheaper, depending on where computers fall and whatnot, my latest is we're pretty smoked on on the interest money at this point. Not at this point, but between knowing that the radios need to get done, there's a few other things that are in the, if we can get them done category that are important. I guess that's just, yeah.
Are there covers on those bollards, or are they not on yet?
They are now, they just weren't in
In
that
this
picture.
picture, they weren't, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know, I'd say we do the two, cut the third out, that would save you. Yeah, $750 for the coring fee, and then
Divide that by
Which two though? If you're gonna do,
the two around the big bump up.
these, this one and this one.
okay.
Yeah, you're probably somewhere below, but let's call it 3,100 versus that number.
I guess you gotta give us the recommendation, chief, knowing.
I mean, I understand the interest rate, right, we wanna spend a couple things on some other stuff, but maybe those other things we can find money for later in the budget.
Did you see that look?
Cause now's, if we're gonna do this, now's the time to do it, before they pay.
Yeah,
They're-
because then you're gonna be paid to court if you wanna put them in.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you want
Yeah,
to
I
do
mean,
about?
pouring holes.
Did you hear that?
What do you want?
I did, I'm thinking,
Yeah,
it's just, yeah.
while Ben's thinking and we were.
Here, bring that picture up, we'll put the pen in front of it, and that's what it's gonna look like then.
Yeah, while we were talking about money, and since I've been out of it for a year, sorry, I only get a couple more months to use that excuse.
Yes.
Have you guys contacted the county to see if they have any ARPA money that they might?
We got
We
50
already
grand
got 40 grand from
40
them.
You did? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
just-
that was 40 grand to offset the warrant article for the radiant flooring.
Okay.
Yeah.
Think they have any more that we could talk them into?
I don't think so,
I don't know,
but
yeah.
I haven't,
Maybe
no
we'll
for a
email,
meeting, so, yeah.
maybe I'll email Homer and see if they have any.
You could, yeah.
Because
okay.
we technically have used we will have technically used all of our ARPA money that we had with this
Right.
project and one other one that had a contract change order done
Okay,
before I got here, so.
okay.
What?
I was listening to you and didn't.
Ben, have we bought you
didn't-
enough time yet? Clock is
I don't
ticking.
We
care.
technically don't have a final interest number yet, but I don't know, I think there is potential that we could add a little more interest up with the newer, when we re-review the numbers, that would cover that, but, and not affect what you already planned.
Yeah.
Do you need the bollards, that are there now, and could the two of them be moved out, or would that just be really expensive?
Yeah, no, the other
No,
ones
well,
are
you
set.
definitely wouldn't want to move them now, and you want those ones, definitely,
okay.
protecting the corners of the doors. Yeah, I mean, if it's the two, I think it's fine, as I was processing it, I was just thinking of, you know, the less stuff that's there, and then certainly a little bit on the money side, but
I'm still thinking to take the risk and not do it. That's just me.
If you were gonna get any tailwind, which side of the building are you more potentially gonna get tailwind
That
from?
would be going out, right?
You're not really.
Or spinning, you know.
well, it'd be going out. So let's say for whatever reason, which is not the likely scenario, you put the ladder, which is certainly the worst of them as far as the overhang on from that back axle, and you put it in the first
Yeah.
near the north side of those four big bays, right? So in this one with the bag
Yeah.
to the left of it.
This one?
No,
Yeah.
you definitely are not putting it in that one.
Won't fit?
Yeah, I know.
So it's impossible-ish to tell with that, only because you're gonna be coming straight out of it or turning slightly to the left as you come out of the building, so the whip's gonna go this way. The other side is, in all likelihood, will be engine 4, which is probably your next biggest problem, And there's absolutely no way to turn that way because there's gonna be just enough room for the parking spaces and you'd actually come out and the tail would be going the opposite direction, the south direction toward that little ladder there.
So the exposure is backing in.
The exposure is probably more from a backing standpoint. And certainly those two corners are I don't really look at it in that picture, but I know looking at them, they're more exposed than
Yeah,
this
when I
one,
was
'cause
standing
this
in
one-
looking out, it was pretty obvious. When you're in there looking out that window, it's like,
Is the bollard gonna do more damage to the truck than if you hit the building?
Oh, yeah, what's the,
Well,
Yeah,
probably
I mean,
the s- it's
if you
probably
hit the
the
building,
same.
you're gonna damage the truck a little bit and damage the siding. If you hit a bollard, you're gonna damage the truck a lot, because that's the
but you aren't
intent.
gonna damage the building.
Right,
well,
so
do you want?
which one costs you more?
One, right.
Probably costs more to fix a fire truck than clapboards,
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, would you,
Fresh siding.
the tail whip we just had
unless you.
was
we
less.
can't even find anybody to repair the tail whip we
Well,
just
no,
had.
but there was less damage to the truck than the building, but granted, that building's not made for tail whip. So.
See, and that's my point. that
Wanna flip a coin?
Pretty much.
You can,
John, what's the master plan say?
Nothing about that.
All right,
If
we're
it
just stewing here.
If
now.
it wasn't a money issue, what would you say?
He-
I
well, he
wouldn't
doesn't-
do it. I don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's-
yeah, but there's part of me that understands what Scott's saying too. I'm certainly not poo-pooing that. And, you know, it is, again, the biggest reason I definitely look at it from a money perspective, because yes, we could find the money to do some of these projects that are kind of still on the docket. But none of the projects are $3,100 projects.
No.
So when you spend this $3,100 and let's say it's paved, right? And we did it 6 months from now or in next year's budget cycle,
Yeah,
you would then add probably not as much, but maybe it's the 750 back in because you're gonna have to
well,
somebody
you need
to pour through
1,500,
the asphalt.
you need
right?
1,500 more to
Right.
core it out, yeah.
So you're gonna spend closer to that $4,000 number. But if you spend the $3,100 now and you opt, then you don't have the funds to do the $20,000 radio project or the $31,000 computer install. Or, you know what I mean? That's, I guess, the only
That's,
other perspective that I'm looking at. And if you did it down the road, sorry about the cameras, you're not paying Bruin $600 in overhead.
right.
Now, you are gonna probably pay somebody in that, but maybe not $600. So. That's the only thought I had.
Okay. And what the rest of the committee say?
Rob was against it, I didn't vote. I would side on the chief's decision actually, if I was doing it.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, whatever that was.
Once he makes a decision.
But most of the committee members that were there, which we didn't have a full committee at Thursday's meeting, felt that it would be a good idea. They felt it would be cheap insurance policy, provide protection for the errant driver, and they, considering they use the tail whip, but considering we've done a tail whip already,
It can happen.
so.
Okay, so we don't not wanna do the things the chief was just talking about. We have to do those things. So then how do we pay those? If we wanna do it.
I mean,
If we're not gonna have it in the interest amount.
well, here's a thought, if you're going to do this, you could start with putting it in the interest, and if the interest becomes something that you need for the other stuff, you could put this into the contingency.
Or building maintenance.
Or building maintenance fund, you could put it in the building maintenance fund, you could do that. I wouldn't start there, because if we have interest, it would be better that it go towards the interest. But if we knew we needed if this is where the board wanted to go, and we knew we needed the 3,100 to finish those other projects, we could transfer this into building maintenance fund.
I'm good with that.
Ben, it's not gonna do any harm to have it there, is it? If anything, it could be a benefit.
I don't think it will do any harm. No, because that's 8
No,
feet.
so-
I was just
I mean,
other than
you're not
aesthetics, there's no
readjusting
downside.
where that's gonna be, so.
Why
Yeah.
not, I mean, that's short money
Well,
in the big
yeah.
picture.
I will throw the only caveat out there is that I don't know how much the elevator is gonna cost me,
Well,
but.
So, I mean, I've
We do
worked,
have money in the building maintenance.
I've been in
Always
this
still
building. I've been in the trucking biz down there, right, at the warehouse, and those ballots have saved those doors on rubs, just going in and out.
I certainly think that if there's a potential that if we come up short financially on the interest money, that it can be found somewhere else, that kind of alleviates that, which is probably really the last concern that I have. And I certainly would ask that it's only the 2 for the bump out. I think squeezing another one into that corner is really
I
not
think
worth
that's-
it.
yeah.
I think worst case, you maybe peel a little bit of siding off if you happen to hit it. That's also a smaller bay where, I think I said it when during the ladder issue, a lot of this is, you can do driver training nearly every shift, but the truth is you drive your pickup truck or your car most often, and you're comfortable with that, and then you get behind a 35-foot vehicle or 40-foot vehicle, and it just handles that much differently, and stuff happens. So that's in all likelihood, it may be the ambulances, it's probably gonna be the rescue, the utility truck that goes there, that people are more familiar with, and probably aren't gonna hit that corner,
Okay.
so.
Are you leaving?
So,
Are you leaving soon?
He's got one more thing.
The reason I ask you that is those kids are back in the trees down at the park. You go yell at them.
As the fire chief.
From last night, we had some issues.
Oh, I missed that.
all right,
So I make a motion that we approve the installation of 2 bollards as priced out of Gruen's PCO number 013.
I'll second. 2 and not 3.
Say again?
2 and not 3.
That should be
I
fine.
was gonna say, 'cause it's priced out at 3 right now.
Yes, so let me,
Per change order.
per the cost per bollard on that change order.
All right, motion by Carol, second by Scott. Any further discussion on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Abstentions? Passes 3-1.
There was a name?
Yeah, me.
Oh, sorry.
Good, I-
Yeah.
Stop getting the reminder email every time. It's so annoying.
So,
Can't always be.
It goes into
unanimous.
Procore, and then when you don't sign off on it every morning
Oh,
at
for
like
this.
5:30, it sends you a reminder.
Gotcha.
So. What was the other thing?
so,
The sheathing?
yeah.
All right, what else?
At the last meeting, there have been a question raised by the public about the roof, the sheathing, the roofing.
Oh, that's
I talked to
Sorry,
the
what?
sheathing on the roof.
Oh, yeah.
So I talked to Rob and got Rob's input, and Rob and Ben have talked, and I will let Ben chime in on it.
Yeah, so I looked at it, I didn't really see it. I talked to Zach about it, the superintendent on site. He did say that during the early morning hours, as the sun's kind of coming from that east and southeast direction, that as it kind of casts the shadows across basically the north side of that larger apparatus bay roof line, that you can see some spots where there's variation. He didn't describe it as wavy. His opinion when he looks at it is that, yes, it's part of using OSB. It's part of, we got OSB delivered and laid during that ridiculous wet season.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have some curling on the ends. So I do know, I don't have it in hand, but JSN, who's the structural engineer for the project, was in during and upon completion of the trusses. That's all past structural engineering, so we know the trusses are in the right spot. Those are solid. His thought is it's that in this couple of spots that you can see it. His opinion and Rob's opinion and my opinion is that roof looks a lot different in the last week or so than it has. That roof got laid in the winter, fall time frame. with cold shingles. It's now starting to kind of come into its own and settle down. And that he's noticed that he sees less of what he saw 3 months ago when the sun's hitting it just right. The other thing that I think Rob and I both noticed is, and Zach pointed out a little bit, there's a couple of seams where as they're laying, right, they're staggered, but there's just a few spots where it's a big roof, you get to a point and all of a sudden you've got a seam here and a seam here. It's fine, the under seams are all fine, but there's a few spots where that makes it look, something's weird. And it is weird because we wouldn't normally see it. The other one is that right in however many ridiculous amount of square that roof is in its entirety, you're gonna get a variation regardless of ordering the X50 shingle. You're gonna get some that are a little more gray, some that are a little bit more black, and there's definitely a spot like right above where that roof hips in. It almost looks like it's got dew on it all day long because it's probably a package or 3 of shingles that was just a little bit more gray than the rest of it. So I get it. It's underlaid as required by the warranty. It's OSB. It is what it is. Farmington's been in their building for whatever it's been, 8 years now, and hasn't had any issue with it. So I feel pretty good about it. It's certainly, when Rob hadn't really looked at it when he gave me the information that was brought forward, and he's like, if it's really, we get over there and it's wavy, then there's an issue. But neither one of us, certainly in the later daylight, could see it. And then I haven't had a chance to look at it at that daybreak hour, but I will probably tomorrow. So I don't think it's an issue, and we can certainly look into it more if needed, and probably bring it up next week at the meeting just to get other Rob from Gruen's opinion on it. I'll probably even email him so that if he's up in the next week, he can kind of take a peek at it and see if he has any different thoughts on it. But I think it's a blend of a bunch of different things, none of which I don't think are concerning.
I didn't notice anything major when I drove by. I'm like looking at
Yeah, I made a point of looking at it on the way in tonight. It was like, it's architectural shingles. See, they're supposed to look that way.
And Marv said some of them just haven't settled yet.
Right.
So he didn't think it was a sheathing issue either, so.
Yeah, we get an 80-degree day. And it'll
That's,
all
yeah,
change.
some of us said when we put them down, it was still cold. They're gonna, once it heats up, they're gonna be okay.
how is the rest of the siding done and everything?
Yes, and I don't know if there's any punch list items. I didn't get a chance to talk to Zach about that, but I had some punch list items. They've all been addressed. There was a few spots where they've gotten hit already, and they fixed that, and there was some sagging underneath the window that got addressed. So
The backside's finished.
yeah, all the other stuff's done. There was like 2 spots that I looked at the other day, and he said that somebody else is probably going to fix it. There's just some imperfect lines where they wrap those wood features that will get done, but other than that, the siding's all done. It's not in bad shape. I got back from vacation, went in there Monday, and was like, wow, there's a lot to do in a month and a half. And I kind of thought about it, and I was like, oh, it's not really that bad. They did get some of the big ones, furnaces weren't in yet, the condensers weren't in yet. Sprinkler company was still working on finishing that up. So then when I went back in Wednesday, sprinkler company should have been finished by the end of the day. 2 of the furnaces were on site, and his thought right now is that it'll really site work, getting going again, and then getting kind of the site finished, picked up, and then finished off. And HVAC will be are the 2 question marks right now, but he's still feeling pretty good about everything else. And even in the 2 days, there was way more floor down in 2 days than was there on Monday. So it's going.
And Jeff was in. I saw him working last weekend. using there?
Probably, they're in there all the
Friday.
time.
You know there's packages here, right? That were delivered here for Bruin. Did you see that email? There's like 16 boxes.
I might have seen it, but I thought it was the other one that came a while
Yeah,
back.
they're smaller, but they're in the hallway here. They were delivered here, and like I say, we're in the other building. We did talk to them about the fencing as well at the last public safety building meeting. I don't think Rob was aware of it, that it had been a problem, and I said, well, it's come down 3 times in the last month. They were supposed to be trying to do something to fix it for the rest of the time, because it came down. I had at the fire department though, because I couldn't get a hold of anybody at Bruin while you were on vacation, so the fire department went down and put it up for me.
So it went down again last week?
It came
went
down on
down.
the sidewalk.
Yeah, oh, it
Last
covered,
week?
yeah.
What night was it?
It was a
I
really
was
bad,
coming-
it was a nice day and a really bad windstorm, all of a sudden popped up in the afternoon.
And we're very, very lucky that nobody was there, because it was probably a solid half of it was on the sidewalk.
The same day that we had a slight transfer station fire, so.
Right, so there was a bunch of guys at the station, it turns out.
Yeah.
And they,
So it
yeah.
was all, I know this past week as I walked by it or gone to it, it's all more onto the sidewalk now. So part of the problem is they were able to kind of get everything dug down to stop some of the drainage issues, which they had to do, and they did a little bit more to make sure that we stopped the whole, gotta get the drains cleaned out thing. So what that did was you either had to have it well onto the site where they're trying to work, or kind of half on, half off, and you couldn't really put it at an angle. And during the snowstorms, the reason it came down is because it was a little bit more on the sidewalk, and then the sidewalk plow turned everything sideways. Didn't do any damage or push it, but turned those the weights. And now when the wind goes, in goes the.
So now they have it strapped in 2 places to the telephone poles,
Yeah,
Yes.
which is good, but
well,
Please.
when I talked to him that day, he was really concerned about it. I'm pointing to you because he was sitting there. He was really concerned about it, and they were going from this
it would have
meeting
been
to there.
really bad.
Yeah.
So it's strapped to the first 2 telephone poles, and just take a look tomorrow and see what you think from that second pole farther north. Is there enough to keep it from going to the side?
Sure.
And then the
Thank you,
only
Kristen.
other thing was that they are going to be reconstructing the sidewalk in the front sometime in the beginning of June. They may need to block traffic. They are going to probably move the fence inward so they can create a path so public can still get through. And once we get a better date, we'll put a notice out to the town. We'll put it out on the town website so people know, so. Other than that, I can't think of anything else.
Moving along. Cable flow
Looking good.
looks good.
So thank you for letting me out those things.
Oh yeah, no problem. Anything else from the board for Ben? All right,
Thank you, Chief.
thanks, Chief.
Have a good night.
You too.
See you, Ben.
All right,
Sorry,
moving right along. You may as well go sit in the hot seat.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I've got this, you know what, since we've gone so long, I've prepared a speech.
Okay.
I was thinking, you didn't read your text.
No, don't worry. 407 years ago.
Yeah.
All
You
right,
need a
anyways.
minute, Carol?
Huh?
You need a minute?
Just go ahead. Yes, I do need it.
21 seconds.
Okay.
The technology review.
Yeah, so we'll start with the technology stuff, and then I have a couple of small planning board items I think would be good for us to just quickly touch base on.
Sorry, that's not on the agenda.
Yeah. Really? I didn't realize you followed the agenda. Okay.
That's because
Only
you
the
took,
town administrator.
Thanks.
you took over and wouldn't let me be the chairman. You'd never seen me run a meeting.
I know. All right, so from a technology committee perspective, we basically focus on 2 primary areas, okay? How the town operates technology within the departments, right? So, we do some stuff there. I got some examples. And then all of the internet work, the stuff with Hub 66 and potentially Breezeline, whatever. What I really want to get feedback from you guys on is what are your expectations? How do you want to see some of this stuff run? I think it's important, and I think generically everybody has an opinion. And I know sometimes you kind of look at some of this stuff and go, well, maybe I don't have enough background or whatnot on some of these areas. But I think you have a fundamental understanding of what you want for the town, because as you guys run the town on a regular basis. Like that's one of the most thankless gigs around. Okay. So when I think about the running the town stuff, so here's a couple of good examples. So we just had all of those outages, right? Hub 66 is waiting for people to tell them that something is broken. I ended up going down and seeing Jeff, and we were looking at sort of how things were connected at the water department, right? And you can see where just over the years things have been added and things haven't been taken out that probably should be disconnected. And it's nobody's fault per se, okay? Like this is not a, oh my God, somebody's doing something wrong. That's not what this is. However, it's the kind of thing where I think each department needs to have an understanding of around what they expect and desire and need from a technology perspective. So again, I'll focus on water department. So I went down there and just what's funny is I don't know that anybody ever explained to those guys sort of how the fiber optics actually work, right? Because we were just talking about, okay, how do they get connected? How does the SCADA network come into play? I think some of the charges and when we talk as a group, the things that I think we need to do is we need to be working with them to develop what each department wants and needs, and we need to have an actual strategy and a plan. I know it's really frightening to hear me talk about having a plan, but like in Jeff's case, the SCADA network to run the water department, that doesn't need to be connected to the internet, but it is connected to the internet. Or the town entered into agreements with Hub 66 to put those fibers in, and we're giving those fibers to them. We're maintaining ownership of certain number of strands, right? Depending on where it is. But along the way, certain things have happened. Things like there's 144 strands that run down through the center of town, down Summer Street. There's 24 strands that run down into the water department, okay? But only 4 strands are terminated. All right, what does that mean? What that basically means is you can hook up 2 things. Because one strand is transmit, one strand is receive, right? Okay? So you're hooking up a couple of things there. That's basically what, and our current contractor, Nesset, I honestly fundamentally believe Nesset is very good for the town. They're doing a good job, okay? And Christina and I had a conversation one day where we were gonna do some firewalls. And I was like, it's weird, why would we do that? And mainly because in my head, I'm going, we have all of this fiber optic. We engaged in this activity over here. I think the town should be trying to figure out how we're utilizing that resource. And Nesset wasn't really in a position to sort of push back on the town and go, why do you want to do this? So I feel like we need to, first and foremost, we need to engage with the departments. We need to try to make sure we understand what they need for redundancy, what their expectations are for some of the things that they do. But that isn't necessarily like uber public, because that's just how we need to function. Then there's the public side, which is Hub 66 and Breeze Line and Consolidated Communications and stuff like that. Like the Breeze Line contract's up in about a year. I guess they've notified us that says, hey, they want to renew the contract. Okay, what does that actually mean for us? The way the world's changing, there's a whole segment of our population that's upset that we no longer get Boston channels as our default, right? But that isn't necessarily related directly to Breeze Line, because Breeze Line has my internet service provider, but I have that experience when I use YouTube TV. I used to just put down the Meredith zip code
And it used to get me, Meredith goes to Boston, by the way. So like Meredith gets Boston, it's Grafton County that they basically said, you're closer, Grafton County, you're closer to Burlington. That's why we're taxed there. Anyway, so the whole point is I think these are some of the things that we need to do, but I wanted to get your feedback because, you know, as we start to poke at Christina and Jeff and Mark or Ben, right, and say, okay, guys, what do you have going on, or what do you need? What do you think you need? You know, I personally have a whole bunch of opinions as to how and why we need to do this. Okay, but at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, like with the park, whoop-de-doo, right? Like, I think it needs to be more collaborative. Like, we gotta understand it, and then everybody knows what they're getting into. And then on the internet service provider side, I think the town has already made a bunch of decisions. I think some of you guys were here when we signed up and did the Hub 66. I wasn't. But when you look at those contracts, I mean, we're definitely down a path where we need to figure out how we're supporting Hub 66. So anyways, I kind of wanted to get feedback from you guys on what you expected and how you thought we should go about it.
You're the expert in the room here, though.
No, I get it, but the thing is, so I start knocking on Jeff's door and I go, hey Jeff, we need to spend some time. You know what I mean?
But
Like
I was gonna say, I guess my question is,
and I'm picking on Jeff because I was just there.
yeah, but do
a couple pictures, you know what I mean?
all the department heads know what they even know what they need? That's the problem.
That was my comment.
I don't know, but the thing is they know what they use today. And by the way, when it was broken, they know what they need. Right? Because
When they don't have it,
when it was down, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they've got, like in Jeff's case, they've got a whole list. Like we started talking about the fiber and which way it ran and why certain things happened. And he was like, oh. I think fundamentally, I mean, I hate to describe it this way. Sometimes engineers have a propensity to explain things to people in a way that doesn't connect the dots.
Sometimes. What do you mean sometimes? More than sometimes.
Listen, I'm an engineer, okay? But the whole point of this is I think there's as much of a campaign of having an understanding of the resources the town has as much as making sure that they understand that we need their help and they've got to start telling us some things. Like, okay, this is what we have. Like in Jeff's case, the SCADA network. Okay, so he has that network that doesn't really need to be connected to the internet. There's a couple of different ways for us to achieve that goal. That means some things. That means when he has to do updates, like he's got to physically get a physical device that he has to walk from one side to another side, plug it in to do whatever updates he needs to do. Right? There are security concerns when you have that kind of scenario, because let's just say you went 5 years and you never updated it, and then somebody mistakenly connects it to the internet. Right? And now you're really exposed in that system because it hasn't been up to date, right? Like, so there's just some of those pieces that you gotta like think through.
So, I need the 101 course. We need a work session where I can get the.
Yeah.
So
Happy to do it.
Yeah. Where are we? What have we got? What does that mean?
Okay.
Even going back through the whole Hub 66 thing, let's just, you were here. I wasn't, that was before me.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I understand it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, in all honesty, this is the funniest thing. I mean, one of the explanations that Christina got when she asked about some of the firewalls, somebody said to her, the fiber doesn't work that way. I was like, hold on. All fiber is a bloody wire.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay?
But I do know.
Right? That's literally all it is. It carries light.
Yeah.
Okay? The type of fiber helps you understand how far the light will go. That's it.
Yep.
And we shouldn't make it any more complicated than that. Okay? The thing about what we gotta try to do is, here's a great example. If you look at some of our budget items, okay, we pay for multiple internet connections still in various locations. Because of the way the fiber optics is physically here in town, if we configured ourselves properly, we wouldn't need all of those. Okay, so then you gotta ask yourself, okay, that's great. Now I'm centralizing, that's good, I'm addressing cost. But maybe the library should have one because maybe we want the public pieces going out a different connection, right? Like, right, so like, it's those kinds of things that I think we have to openly talk about, and then just in layman's terms, write down, this is what we're trying to achieve. And then we figure out what to do.
So, I really need the where are we before where are we going?
Okay?
That may not be the same.
Yeah,
as you.
okay, so how long would it take you to explain that to us?
So it depends on the topic.
I'm
We could
thinking
spend
of
hours.
getting you into a workshop,
A work session.
a
with-
work session for us, and then you sort of going over that.
And what if we include department
Well,
heads?
that's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
I think it's best.
Board and
best
department
efficient.
heads, and we do a work session.
That sounds perfect to me. Because again, listen, at the end of the day, here's the thing. There's nothing more empowering, I think, than you kind of sit back and go, listen, I'm not an expert in what you need to do. Ben, I am not a firefighter. Now, I've had to put E911 communication centers together, so God bless them. Okay, but like, that's not my expertise. I'm not, I got nothing. But at the same time, you know a bunch of things, like you know what you need to provide the services you need to provide to the town or the police department. And I know like that one gets challenging because I did police departments for a while, right? But like there's a whole setup where, you know, you gotta be very guarded in how those communications and things work. Okay, so the day we had the outage, right? We spent a whole lot of time getting the backup connection done for their setup. I literally looked at it for a minute and I went, okay, but if we just did it one level up, we would have fixed everybody at once. And again, it just comes back to sort of like having a better, broader understanding and then setting those expectations with everybody. You know, because I honestly think a little bit of education on what we have will go a long way. Because then it'll spur like, well, what about this and what about that?
Right, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's fine by me.
And even, sorry,
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say also include maybe Chris Carter, because he is,
Chris is awesome.
right, so he's not a department head, but he's a viable asset.
He
So-
totally is. So like, and here's the thing though, like, and this is what I worry about. Like, I
He would be
fundamentally
Chris's
worry, like,
representative.
we can run Christina and Chris to death with all this stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like, right now, the EDC can't get into their email box. I don't know if you knew that or not. Bruce sent it
Because
over.
they don't have a password.
Yeah, so anyway, so like, they can't get into the email box. The other day, Ramo was having trouble where email wasn't working when I had stopped
Me
to
too.
do something, right?
It's
You know,
I know.
just some of the internet connections, the phone system, the cameras going in. Like, in all honesty, like one of my core beliefs for us as a community, we should not have any bloody infrastructure here. Everything we need and have should be in the cloud, so then that way we start to minimize the amount of stuff we have to do. The amount of specialists that we have to have. So we have a specialist dedicated to the phone system. There's a server upstairs. Something happens to upstairs, something happens to this building, all the phone systems are down. Right? Like there's so many ways that we've set ourselves up for extra drama. And we don't really need to do, I mean, we have to go, you know, the budget committee will like this part. Does Janet do the minutes for you guys too? No, she doesn't, all right. But like, we have to get to the financial useful life of those items, right? But like the cameras that got put in, there's another one where, so now we're gonna have a server that's gotta be someplace. We gotta worry about the power for that server, we gotta worry that it's got 2 different connections, we gotta figure out how often it's going off site and this and that. Like there's 100 things for us to figure out, but yet we don't have a dedicated IT department. I'm not saying we should, by the way, I'm not advocating for one, but we behave both ways. We buy a bunch of stuff like we got people here, and then we try to hire the contractors at the same time. And then the contractors aren't really in a position to push us around. So then everybody does what is the most expedient at that moment, which then ultimately puts us in this catch-22 all the time.
so,
Anyways,
so then an explanation of what are we paying our contractor for would be part of that workshop.
yeah, we can do that.
So when you guys say we don't have any firewalls, I'm thinking, we have a
We do.
contractor.
We do.
How can we not have?
Yeah, we do.
That
No,
was
but
it.
you know, whatever it was, whatever.
So,
whatever
He
it
was
was.
using that as an example.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But if that is an example, that shouldn't be our job. We should have had that already. And all of our backups and all that.
Yeah.
We have an IT company that I
We,
would
we,
have thought.
we do, and seriously, like, the current company, Nesset, they're doing a good job.
No, I'm.
Right?
Yeah.
We have helped them figure out how to get some better pricing on some things. We've helped them understand that, like, how we need to look at this from a strategy perspective. But again, right now, that's more or less us kind of pushing, and I'm going, you know, I'm perfectly willing to do that, but at the same time, what feels better to me is everybody understands, this is where, it's a master plan. This is where we're going.
Yeah,
And, right? And then everybody has a say, and then we figure it out. Anyway, so that's part one. And then part two is the internet stuff. I think we need to start engaging, it's still challenging to engage with Hub 66. I think we have to start engaging with them and probably BreezeLine. BreezeLine has obviously sent us the thing that said, hey, we want to renew the contract. Well, that's great. Bruce did a bunch of looking for me. You know, one of the things he figured out was, you know, we can't really we negotiate the cable stuff. We can't really negotiate the other services, right? So then what do they expect out of Bristol? And then, by the way, since we've backed Hub 66, what are they expecting? And then how are they expecting to upgrade their infrastructure here in town, right? So like, for example, the head end, so everybody in Bristol that uses BreezeLine, the head end is in Laconia. So your internet signal leaves your house and it goes to Laconia before it basically hits the internet, okay? All right, what you have on the streets to make that distance are repeaters and amplifiers, okay? Basically boost up the signal so it can make the trip, all right? Like on my street, I fought them for probably a month because the ones near my house went bad. They have heaters inside of them. Like, so what some people would see is like in the spring and the fall, the signal just getting wonky. It's getting wonky because there's condensation happening inside that infrastructure because the heater's not working to keep the condensation out, right? But it's like pulling hen's teeth because they don't monitor down to that piece. So then it becomes a conversation around, okay, well, what are you expecting? Now, if we've split the market for them so badly in Bristol, are they incented? I don't know. Like, so I think it's just worth a conversation. But again, we don't want to just start going off the reservation and start going, all right, everybody get in here. You know, like that. I think it requires a discussion.
And we need to talk to people in town about the contract with BreezeLine.
Well, you also need to start earlier than you think, because once they
Yeah.
notify.
Takes about a year and we got a year left.
Well,
That's why it's,
No, I talked to the town's attorney, and getting out of this, once they notify you, it's going to be a long legal process.
yeah, by the way, I don't know that we need to get out of anything. I think,
Well, depending if you want to, if you do want to get out of the franchise, that would be something
Yeah.
that would take a lot, but.
I don't know that we have any incentive to get out of it at this point, but,
I don't think we should, personally, I don't think we should.
yeah.
But again, I don't think we have an understanding of what we signed up for.
Well-
And then again, it's the implications of what we did for the fiber, and, so that's the piece that I think we just need to all be on the same page with.
And 20 years ago, when it first did all this, it was a lot different than what it is today, too, so.
Yeah.
I haven't had a real issue with my BreezeLine, so it's there's less stress on it now, so it's like, I'll stay on it.
Listen, generally,
Yeah, we're okay.
I'm on video all day long, and I'm literally on a screen on my desk, and I'm on, so when it flickers, it does something really weird, I'm like, guys, what's up?
Well, or if people want to know, why didn't you do something about the channels that I don't have?
Yeah.
So that we can answer that. Or can we negotiate that? Or what?
Yeah, and by the way, we may not be able to,
We may.
but at the end of the day, I think right now we just don't have an open line of communication, and I think we need to get one. So, the last piece with all that is like, and I keep harping on this with Hub 66, I really want to figure out how we get jobs in Bristol from this work. Like, it annoys me no end. So for example, I'll come full circle, like my conversation with Jeff around how the fiber works. Jeff and the guys in the water department, clearly they understand water lines. They understand the sewage lines, okay? And when you start talking about the internet, it's bloody plumbing. Right? Like seriously, that's how you have to look at it. And you know, fundamentally, I think there's ways to expose folks to what those career opportunities are, because all of the companies, Hub 66 said this to me a few times, they're hiring people from Massachusetts to come up and maintain all this infrastructure. Now, I'm not saying I don't want them to hire from wherever they need to hire to have proper folks, but like, it just seems silly to me that they gotta go get people from 100-something miles away to manage infrastructure that is going to be, and fundamentally is in a lot of ways, our lifeline, right? Because if you come full circle back to what I said around we should be cloud focused, we shouldn't have our own infrastructure, what does that mean? That fundamentally means our internet connection has gotta be rock solid. We gotta have 2 paths, like we gotta think about it that way, or every time something goes blip, we'll have a problem. That's the flip side of taking out all your infrastructure. Anyways. All right, so we'll do a work session?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so then my only other little thing for the planning board. So I was
Go ahead.
yeah, I was super excited to hear that we're gonna try to do the end of May for the all committees meeting. The piece for me, I think, to think about is, you know, part of me, before I heard that, I was like, well, look, we'll just take a workshop. Because as you hear from Dorcas, right, like there is definitely a need for us to have more communications around all of the other sections that are in the master plan. And then, but after listening to that and thinking about this, it might be worth it if we turned around and thought about it quarterly, but like, have me do 2 sessions in 2 different workshops at the planning boards focused on the master plan, like focused on specifically like, hey guys, let's talk about the master plan sections, right? 2 of them a year. And then the other 2 all committee meetings would be, you know, obviously you guys setting the agenda and giving everybody there, okay, here's what we expect, right? That may be a good way to think about it. So anyways, just something for you guys to ponder, because that, you know, especially when you said tonight, like, all right, we need a plan. No kidding.
Yeah.
Anyways, there you go. All right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so then you'll let me know the workshop. All right, and then I'll talk to the other guys about coming in with me.
We'll probably do it one of our off weeks on Thursday.
You have to probably do it on one of your off weeks. Because I don't think it'll be an hour session. It's going to be a couple hours.
And here's the thing, like,
Or do we need to have everybody come in at first? Or do we just want
I mean,
them
maybe.
to come in and give
No, I
us,
think ours was separate, wasn't it?
Well,
Or department
the
head.
department heads.
Yeah, not all committees.
Just so they can learn.
No,
we're
it would
gonna
just
learn.
be,
okay,
this would just be you learning about
Just
what you have for-
this is what we
what you
have.
Yeah.
how it
Yeah.
works now, and then department heads can feed into what they may not know how it works.
Yeah.
So that everybody gets your 101.
Yeah, and then we maybe take down a list, a brainstorming list of what their needs.
Yeah. I mean, let's not. I think the way we position it for everybody is it's not a solving session,
no, correct.
right? We're not here to solve. We're here to understand, because there's a bunch of stuff that we still don't understand. I mean, honestly, I say this to Christine all the time. I always learn the most stuff when stuff's broken, because that's where all the pain points come out. You know, and you sit back and you go, "Son of a gun," you know. So.
Yeah, but if everybody gets some basic knowledge, then we can sort of put an outline of where we want to go.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Very cool.
Thank you. All right, you got it back now.
Thanks. Very gracious of you.
All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.
See ya.
All right, moving right along, job descriptions. Yeah. Since we're doing a few every meeting, is that what it is?
At first meeting of every month, I'm trying to get them all done. I think, if I remember correctly, there should only be one more batch in June.
Oh, okay.
And
Sweet.
then they'll be all done.
So we have town clerk, tax collector's office, highway department, transfer station, and assessing land use.
So they're all in your folder. I actually created a motion document for everything too, depending on what you have for questions. I did ask people to be here for these because these were approved last year. There were no substantial changes except for the admin clerk we did take out because we were sharing that position under the tax collector's office. So we took those shared duties out and strictly the tax collector's office. And then we upgraded all the grades to where they're supposed to be, and we added the non-essential versus essential functions, so.
And we didn't hire, right, so that shared office position is that still open?
Yeah,
Is it posted?
not yet. I think
Okay.
she was
We haven't
waiting.
posted it.
She didn't know, Raymond would make the decision when to post that,
Okay.
but I think they were trying to get through
Yeah.
this busier season. They're busy all the time, but to get through town meeting and elections.
Okay.
and then-
Under the land use, the health officer, I just found one typo.
Whoops.
I found one typo, but it's not like I went looking for them in other places after that.
What's the last batch? Where is it?
It's under major duties health officer.
Sorry, I'm jumping around here. Yep,
Second bullet.
Okay.
Documentation to include, but not limited to photos. Not by,
oops, got it, okay.
that's the only thing I saw.
Okay.
I did them out per groups, so if you wanted to look at a motion for one group at a time, you can, or ask questions about one group at a two. It's up to you how you do this, but I did prepare that, it's in your folder.
How do you want to do this, by sections, make it easy?
Sure.
You guys looking through them, or
I was, but it's gonna take a while.
you didn't do, I was gonna say.
I didn't have email until like yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So to clarify on the email issues, for those who didn't have the multi-factor authentication, we didn't realize that's what was holding up your emails.
Oh,
And so it was twofold for you. You were having the multi-factor authentication and then you had to change passwords. It didn't tell you that, what
It's
happened.
dump that.
I don't think
Yeah.
I got that message today, she said we'd get.
They were gonna call you, I think, or send you.
So he called
Rob's
me
is-
and
Rob's, I don't think is in either is less, but.
he called me and then you just gotta close out the email app and then restart it.
But they give you a password.
No.
That's what she said.
Oh, the
Yes,
new
you-
password.
You'll need the new password, so I'll follow
If you
up tomorrow.
reset it, if you reset it. No, but for the multi-factor I had tried it after she gave me the password and it still didn't work. So she said, oh, there's an MFA, so I went back in, tried it again, it still didn't work. So he called me, but when I closed it out and then went back in, it prompted, I'm like, oh, I knew it, and he was on the phone with me for pretty much no reason. So,
So for mine, I stopped getting or being able to send emails from Friday. Didn't know it when I left
no.
until Monday. When I got back and realized on Monday, Deb and I worked on it and we were able to, mine was twofold. We had to purchase a different account because I didn't have enough memory or enough space in my account. And because I have all of the email history.
Yeah.
So we purchased more space for now. I'm gonna be one of the first people to move to SharePoint, which is mostly in the cloud. But we wanted, I said, just purchase it for now, I need to get through to be able to send emails. And then it required me to change my password too, so.
Okay, so do you guys need time to look over this stuff? Do we need to put this off? Can it be put off?
To look it up, each job description.
Well, these are ones you've seen, except for Dawn, you've
Yeah.
seen before. The only changes are just the grades non-essential versus essential.
Yeah.
And the admin clerk, nothing else
So-
changed, if you are okay with that.
I'm fine with that.
You okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Alright,
all right.
I'll make a motion to approve the following 2024 updated town clerk, tax collector's office job descriptions. Administrative clerk, deputy clerk, tax collector, and the town clerk, tax collector.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion by Scott, second by Les. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes 4-0-0. Okay.
Make a motion to approve the following 2024 updated highway department job descriptions. Ground maintenance / operator, highway equipment operator part-time, highway equipment operator full-time, highway foreman, highway superintendent, seasonal building and grounds laborer.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Scott, second by Les. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 4-0-0. Go ahead.
Make a motion to approve the following 2024 updated transfer station job descriptions. Transfer station lead attendant and transfer station attendant.
Second.
Carol beat you to it,
Oh,
sorry.
did you? Good job.
Motion by Scott,
Where was he?
second by Carol. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes 4-0-0.
Alright, last one. Motion to approve the following 2024 updated assessing land use department job descriptions. Land use administrative assistant, land use associate, land use officer / health officer, administrative assistant, highway, shared highway assessing and land use. Then there's assessing / land use manager.
Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Motion by Scott, second by Carol. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passes 4-0-0. Alrighty, moving right along speedily. Town administrators report.
Starting under assessing and land use, under your TA folders, there's notice of violation order to remedies. Multiple properties have received the notices which were mailed out April 22nd and April 25th. These properties were reviewed with the board at the prior land use work session, and if you want to look at the copies of them, they're in the TA report folder under enforcement letters. They're not all of them, obviously, but these are the first group that we've started with, well, that they've started with, so. If you have any questions about those.
Wow, one of them's already done some significant cleanup.
Wetlands permit by notification. I didn't scan this in, but it is for a property of 41 Silver Shores Drive. They are apply for a wetlands permit to repair or replace an existing deck or patio, and if you wanted to take a look at the application, you are welcome to do so. Under the executive department, we did the May recognition. We posted in thanks the following employees. For the seasonal beach, Peter Simons has been with the town for 2 years. The fire department, Matthew O'Neill has been with the town for 3 years. Amy Clayman, 14 years, and Rob Glassett, 14 years.
Thank you.
Under fire department and welfare services, Ingrid Heidenreich has been with us for 5 years, and there's a debate on whether it was May or September, and we'll resolve that, but I told her she would have to stay in May for now. So, on the ACA, filing, which is the American Affordability Care Act, or so. I mentioned it to the board previously that there was we were trying to get it filed, and we didn't know the deadline. We didn't know that we'd missed the deadline. When we get it done, we worked really hard to get it done. Anchor helped me. We manually did all the forms for the employees. And then we found out when Bob did them, we used Bob's filings. When Bob did in the 2022 submission, which would have been last year, you were allowed to file them on paper. And it was 250 returns or more, you couldn't. So it was under 250 returns, which they count each of these as a return, you could file them on paper. They've changed it to 10 this year, so you can't file unless if you have 10 returns, they call them, then you have to file electronically, over 10. We have over 10. So because we have over 10, we had to do electronically. Filing electronically requires software or a programmer. It was very difficult. We got into the system, we had all our licensing set up in the system. It was crazy reading some of the stuff, figuring out what we were doing wrong, why we couldn't get it to accept. So I ended up talking to a company that Health Trust gave us a list of companies, and I'm very thankful for the one that we picked. It is a cost, unfortunately, $1,200 for the software, but they were able to work with me. We entered everything through their system. I worked for 3 hours on it, got it all through their system. They did a test file, and the test file, what we checked today, has been accepted by the IRS. So we will have the real submission submitted on Monday. We have to wait 48 hours. The piece I talked to him also about was, he didn't charge me anything extra, it was just the software package. He's also giving me the software for free next year, because usually you pay the fee every year. He's giving next year to us for free. And they do not believe that the IRS will fine us for the late submission. However, if they do, they will help us write an appeal to them. So nice. Town beaches, I did want to follow up with we've had some outstanding things on the beaches. So the new beach ordinance signs have been received. We are working with the correctional facility who would like to take pictures when we are installing. It's a new process that they're doing, and they're using us, I think, as a sample. They're from start to finish of the process. So they're gonna, we've scheduled that for May 22nd. They'll go out and take pictures of the highway department as they're installing the signs. Deb and I talked to Mark about moving the handicap parking to a flat area down by the sandy part of Avery Crest Beach. This area will not require removing any stone walls as they get out of their car and will be on the sand. The coffins are being cleaned out, and they're going to be stocked fresh with materials purchased at the end of last year. Uniforms have been ordered and are in hand, and the attendants. We have 3 returning. Amanda, Athens, and Peter have picked up and been provided schedules. They will be working from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Ray Porshane returns in May, and he will meet with Deb and get his scheduling, and he will be our 4th attendant. And Deb will be on, obviously the department head, but she will have a limited capacity on her scheduling. Chief Dean has spoken with his officers at their staffing meeting about visibility and checking with the beach attendants, and 3 of the 4 attendants will be able to write tickets. Deb will be talking to the contractor next week about installation of swim lines. And I think we've covered everything that we talked about for the beach. Okay. All committees, I emailed with Rick for some dates in May that we could have a meeting. He's given me 3 dates, May 20th, May 28th, and May 29th. I would actually prefer not to do May 20th if we could take that off the list. I'm not guaranteeing I'm going to be in the best of spirits that day. I'm having some dental work done the Friday before, so.
Okay.
So we could do either Tuesday or Wednesday, but I wanted to run it by the board first, what date you would prefer.
What were the choices?
May 28th or May 29th.
What's this for?
Sorry,
All committees.
who asked that?
All
Oh, all committees, yeah.
The 28th is the day after Memorial Day weekend. They might be short of people.
Probably would be good.
Yeah.
We wait till Wednesday, there might be more people back. So you wanna shoot for the 29th?
Wednesday is okay with me. The 29th.
Yeah, I
I
can't,
will, go ahead.
I can't do the 28th.
So the 29th is better for most.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, I didn't need to type up the points from the first from that meeting yet. I will get that done in the next week and try and get that out to everybody, as well, so. And I'll see if Rick has a game plan of what he wants, we should accomplish in this meeting.
What time would that be at?
I haven't set the time yet. What time did we start the last one, at 6? We had a meeting before that.
We did, because we all came in.
Let me
Yeah,
look
was it a workshop or no?
We all came in from over there.
upstairs. You guys were
Yeah.
meeting with me upstairs.
Yeah.
So that ended at 6, so we started at 6. $6 still for this?
Sure.
I think Rick tries to keep it to, it was like 6 to 8 before. He tried
Hopefully
to
Rob
keep
doesn't have a
it
game
short.
that night.
An hour and a half, huh?
He kept it quick and to the point, so,
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll do 6 PM.
Yeah, hopefully the ones that coach don't have a game that night.
Yeah, right, you're right in the middle of the season, right?
Yeah.
Or do we want to move it to June and ask Rick for other dates? May 29th good, or move it to June? You're not here in June.
No, well, I'm not here for 1 week in June. We're not going till
Well,
July.
let's give this the 29th a shot. I might be able to find out if Rick has a game. Rick, not Rick.
Well,
Well, Rick might have a game.
Rob.
well, no,
Yeah, Rob or
Rick
Rick.
picked these dates.
Robert.
Yeah.
I told Rick picked these
Yeah.
dates, so Rick should have his schedule, right?
Right, yeah.
So, I think Rick picked these dates because he didn't have a game.
Okay.
Okay.
Next is conditional offer for the finance officer. We have extended and currently it has been accepted.
Yes.
We are working with the applicant to determine a start date and any other incidentals related to the offer. And we should be ready to announce at the next select board meeting.
Excellent.
Cool.
Excellent.
Highway department transfer station, I may have forgotten to tell anybody because I didn't know at first. Transfer station did have a slight faux pas. They were burning and it was a beautiful day. They could burn, not a problem, and the wind came through that same day that the fence got knocked down.
Oh,
And it jumped some embers over and started the fire going down the hill. So our fire department got there and put it out. So,
who's
but
on duty?
what,
Who's on duty?
for the fire department?
No.
Oh.
For the town attendant.
I think because at the time the transfer station was open when they burned, but they were letting it go down, and when the wind came through, the embers jumped, and Victor was the one who saw the fire and got the fire department called. They had contacted the fire department that morning to let them know they were burning, and at that time, the fire department thought it was a good day too, so.
The email is nice though, was it?
Yes.
A positive comment.
Oh, about the transfer station?
Yes, I was gonna read that into the record if you're okay with that. Rob did receive an email from the member of the public under your the TA report file transfers TS comment. Oops, I'm in the wrong meeting. See, Carol, it happens to me. I was gonna, you can if you want, it just starts with a nice comment from a member of the public about his visit to the transfer station. Let me make this bigger. He said that he went to the transfer station this past Saturday, April 20th, and could not have been more impressed with the staff on duty. They were incredibly polite, asked folks if they needed help unloading, kept traffic flowing, and importantly, to this person, were questioning people about having up-to-date stickers. I can't tell you how frustrating it is to go to the transfer station or town beaches and see people taking advantage of our town services without the proper stickers, so I really appreciate the staff doing this weekend. Huge kudos to Mark and the rest of his team. I'm sure they don't get enough praise for the work they do to keep the town running smoothly. But I was super impressed by the crew at the transfer station on Saturday and wanted to make sure that gets to the select board and to Mark. And then he added Chuck, oh no, that was Rob, never mind. Okay,
It's nice.
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing when you go down there now,
Yeah.
and it's,
That's so cool.
yeah.
yeah. So I'm gonna probably put those, that comment in each of the transfer station files for them. And I'll also, I don't think I've shared it with Mark yet, so.
Does it say the sidewalk?
I can tell,
Here,
but it does in the email body.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was on the list.
Oh, okay.
No, was he?
Joe Pruitt?
Yeah, okay.
I thought, yeah, Ace did, I believe.
We did meet today, on the shore drive drainage concerns. The first stakeholder group met today. Discussion centered around ideas on what might be causing the issue, possible solutions, what other stakeholders should be involved, because they felt that they weren't all mentioned in the group stakeholders report, and a walk of the area in question was conducted. This is going to be one of many meetings. There's a lot to discuss on this. Some of the ideas that were tossed around about were possible funding sources for surveying and engineering a plan, possible removal. They talked about the back of the church parking lot where it kind of slopes down. You wouldn't know it when you were looking at it, but the back of the parking lot, they don't use. It's all dipped, it's not been maintained, so they're talking about taking that gravel, the asphalt out, because that would lessen the impervious cover. But then there's an old road that looks like it's not really paved, but it's because it's covered in spots with dirt. There's a whole section of road there paved that goes all the way to Silver Shores Drive. So they're talking about removing the paving there as well.
That's the churches?
Part of it is so it's state and church.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a portion where it
Yeah.
changes to Silver Shores, so we felt that they needed to be included in the discussion. The church right now is willing to, the state was actually willing to consider helping survey, so they know which portion is the state's, church,
With the
and
state
Silver Shores,
surveyor, so.
because they have their
They
surveyors.
have the teams, yeah.
And that way the church can make a decision on how they can move forward. They had mentioned in-kind, like NLRA is willing to apply for grants, and I'm willing to help do the application when the time comes. But the concern was that they would need a grant match, and they were looking to the town to consider in-kind labor, and I'm like, we can't do in-kind labor or grant match on private property or class 6 roads unless we go to a town meeting for a vote, so I can't guarantee that can happen, but there might be something else that we could do to help. They talked about, one of the other ideas is snaking the pipes to see where they all go and getting the true layout of where the pipes are, and making sure there's no breaks in those pipes as well, so.
That'd be a good starting point, I would think.
Right, and
Yeah, there could be some failures or.
Mark said the state has one that goes along and they can drive it like a remote.
Yeah.
Where the town's camera, you have to push it through, so that's where we're at. We probably won't have another meeting for another month or two because it's getting into the busy season, for NLRA, and they're helping conduct these meetings. So I just wanted you to know where we're at. I did ask Mark to go out and check the rock on Route 104 that was mentioned at the last meeting. He feels it's a flat bottom rock and there isn't any risk of the rock rolling downhill.
I looked at it after that, it didn't look, just from the road, it didn't look much of a problem.
Downtown trees, I've emailed Sean Legue for dates to meet in the downtown to discuss. I couldn't remember which board members wanted to be part of that discussion. I didn't know if it was Rob or not, so I'm or who wanted to be part when we meet with Sean to talk about the replacement trees downtown.
I don't remember.
I think it was probably Rob.
I thought it was Rob, but I wanted to make sure before I did that. I haven't heard back yet from Sean, but I will set something up and we'll get that moving forward. On the police department, we had to do this last year for Wellington details. They require municipality certification of authority. A blank one was included in the TA report materials. We need to vote and grant the certification of authority to both myself and the police chief. And I have the one here, if you are okay with going ahead to do that.
And what's it stating, or so what's the purpose?
It gives, the certification of authority says that the chief and I have the authority on the Wellington details paperwork. We get the money, we apply for the funding for the coverage of the details, and they need that in order for us to work with them.
Okay.
Who are they?
Wellington?
The state.
The state.
Department
It's DRED.
of Natural Cultural Resources.
Yeah, it's not DRED, sorry, BNCR.
Well, yeah. Do you want a motion for this?
Yep.
So I make a motion that we approve for Christina to sign the municipal certification of authority to the town of Bristol, including the chief of police with the Department of Natural Cultural Resources.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion by Carol, second by Scott. Passes 4-0-0.
Water and sewer department, Baton Road update. Jeff has been in contact with Mr. Maggio, who would like to be here when, I found out what Jeff calls these as a data tracker. Mr. Maggio would like to be here when it's installed, so he has postponed it. We were gonna be doing this in April. It's going to be May, June, whenever he comes back, timeframe. When I talked to Jeff, they are also planning on installing data trackers for multiple days with neighbors, and hydrants in the area. It can track multiple days and give us a better idea of what is going on in that area. John, I know you weren't here for that. There was a concern that Baton Road, there's a drop in pressure at a owner's property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we've done some measurements, with the pressure, but where these data trackers give us more, information about where it's happening and how long it's happening.
Jeff's done a bunch of work and can't find that there's a drop in pressure anywhere that he checks on the road from our system.
Okay.
It's over in the Baton, or King Arthur, over in that area.
Yep, I know where it is. I know exactly where that road is.
I didn't get this until today. This is something, we should be doing. It's a bill register. It's a quarterly transaction list that we'll be doing with the board that'll approve the quarterly billings that are going out. It's kind of like the tax warrant. We sign the tax warrant when we send the bills out for the taxes twice a year. This will be signed when we send the bills out for the water and sewer four times a year. This is what they drew up for today, just because these quarterly billings are going out now, and we wanted to make sure that we got this corrected. But this is a transaction list that shows you the water and sewer codes, how it's broken down, and then the dollar amount. If you are okay with approving that for the bills, but we need that when finance has made some changes, and this is one of those changes. So.
I was gonna say, is this something, a new requirement, or just?
Yeah, finance, and they really should have been doing it all along, because it is kind of like tax bills. You're sending out bills with water and sewer, and it's like a warrant, and we book a liability, and as the payments come in, they'll be booked to that liability, and so there will be some checks and balances there. So.
Do you need a motion or just the signatures?
Actually, a motion would be good, just to approve it.
I make a motion that we approve the Bristol Water and Sewer transaction list from January 3rd, 2024 to March 27th, 2024.
Is there a second? Scott seconded. Motion by Les, second by Scott. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes 4-0-0.
In your packets, there's a Department of Energy newsletter if you'd like to read it. It's from April 19th. We received an invitation from Katie to their 25th anniversary regional prevention summit. It's scheduled for May 24th. If the board members wish to attend, please let me know and I will RSVP by the 17th. I also received an inquiry about their funding and I let them know that they were not funded. I haven't heard anything else, so. And.
That it?
Yep.
All right. Select board item.
Do we need, oh,
Okay.
like on that, do we need to discuss that email that was, or is this
Which one?
the one that was forwarded to us about the land use? That land use issue?
Oh,
Should we have talked about that in non-public? Does it need to be?
The one that Dawn forwarded?
Yeah.
No, land use took care of it.
They took care of it.
Okay.
I did miss one thing. It might
You
be-
knew it.
It might be a select board item.
Always.
The email
Always,
from
always,
Claire.
always.
The email from Claire.
Yep.
You can do it under select board, I set it by an email.
I won't remember.
What's that red
it,
sticker
but I
for?
will do it.
This is our signage that I have to apply for every year. Because, so we will be moving forward too with our other two signs. They emailed me today. I didn't respond to her yet, but I'm looking to get those last two signs done.
The Bristol one?
Yep, with the changes we made with the bear and I can't remember the other thing right now.
Yeah.
But this, because we put those bullets on them on a state road, it's considered, I don't know if they call it solicitation. We have to apply a $150 sign fee every year. And that's for the one, I think it says, I think it's the one out here.
By Rite Aid.
As in front of Rite Aid. The other one, I'm not saying anything because.
What other one? There
Yeah,
is
not
another
that one. I
There
don't
is
know
another
anything
one.
about that one. But that, we have to apply every year to keep that, and if we don't, then they'll order us to take the sign out, potentially. I think I have to go to my email because I don't see I printed it.
If it's that date, end date thing, I remember.
So there's two things with Claire, but do you remember the end date? Let me go in. So, just so that you know, oops, not a new email, our current contracted
Special events.
special events coordinator, is going to be, resigning from her position. And the board's gonna need to think about what they wanna do to replace that position. Her last day is, she extended it, I tried to get her to extend it longer. But she extended it till June 10th right now, and she wanted us to mention it to the board tonight. We don't have to make those decisions obviously tonight, but, let's see.
And we wanna wait at least another couple of weeks so we can flesh out exactly how much money we will have spent for her part of the position up to now, because it's been a busy time with the brochure being put together and all of those things. So then we'll have a better idea of what's left in the budget for the special events person and what do we want to do. We probably will want to have somebody in that position part-time because I
Or
don't see the committee
contracting,
being able
yeah.
to take on all those duties.
Contracting, if the person would have to provide their own insurance.
Right.
We were very lucky to have Claire in that role. But she has done a huge preparation for her departure. She has set up things that we've done for events over the years and outlined them. She is working on a detailed task list for the committee. as well as a sort of job description that she can submit to us for her replacement. So this will be probably something we'll have to look at before she's done on June 10th, but, and I'll put it in another meeting. We will also be coming to the board at the next meeting, most likely, to talk about the committee's change in the parade, to make sure that you agree with the rule changes that they're making for the parade. We just have to run them by the town's attorney the last. It's ran them by the town's attorney, got a few questions back. So that changed what they were, Claire revamped it, and now we're just running the last piece by them, so.
Not any major stuff.
We're trying to stay on the route to making sure that the board is involved and agreeing with some of the changes that committees are making and where they're going with things, so.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Now,
That was select board though.
okay. Les, we'll start with you for select board items. How's that?
So, a couple of things, which just immediately went out of my head. One was the Claire thing. Oh my gosh, can you go to someone else?
All right,
Hold it for a second.
Carol.
So, another month and a half of legislature, and we're gonna be away doing some camping. So, for the, I'll have to zoom in on May 16th.
Oh, that's my birthday.
Yeah, and June 6th. June 20th, I'll be here. What are we doing? So that's, just to let you know, I'll have to zoom in on those, it should be okay.
And June.
What are we doing July 4th, which is Thursday night?
I thought we canceled one.
Okay, I probably didn't know. Well, obviously I didn't.
Let me look.
Did we cancel?
I thought we did. So, cause it's July 4th? Oh yeah, we definitely canceled July 4th for a
July
meeting.
meeting. Okay, so the 18th, the second one.
Let me just see what they are, cause I'm.
We did? Alright.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm gonna check right now.
While you're looking at that, we talked about this at Conservation Commission last night. You probably have seen the complaints on Facebook about the Wellington boat ramp and how I'm never coming to Newfound Lake again.
No.
I don't know if you saw those, it was on the Newfound Lake
No,
Life.
what's?
A couple of people, two people specifically saying they're not coming here again because of how awful the boat ramp is on the weekends.
Oh, the atmosphere. Yeah, that's,
I
isn't that?
talked to NLRA when he was here last night because they have weed watchers or something they call them.
Yeah, yeah.
It is what they call them.
No, it's their,
Lake hosts.
Yes.
Lake yeah.
They have them there and they say that I asked them if they get some difficulty, and they said they do sometimes. Not with the weed part, but with everything else that's going on. I had talked to the chief a while ago about this and he didn't seem to think it was
The boat ramp.
overwhelming last year, the boat ramp, for Bristol PD being called.
He didn't.
It was so rainy, it was
It
a
was
bad
raining.
summer. It was,
They only,
it rained every
his
weekend.
report, Carol, had been
Except
that
for
there was
3.
chairs. The only thing they dealt with major last year was that people were putting chairs in parking spaces
Right.
and blocking them for their people to get through the line and park.
So I have a call, I've been trading voicemails with the director of Fish and Game to ask them if they can somehow, they stopped, you weren't here last year, they stopped at the 5 Fish and Game owned boat ramps, they stopped sending conservation officers to watch over the boat ramps on the weekends because it was like $40,000 for the year.
Correct, yeah.
So they stopped doing it.
Oh.
So, and we kind of wanted to see how it went last summer, but I'm gonna have a conversation with them and see if they can do something for us. I mean, it's kind of a waste of a conservation officer's skill to do that,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, but, so anyway, I don't know, and if they don't do anything, it's gonna be status quo, I guess, because we certainly can't afford to put anyone there, it's not our job anyway.
But we'll just keep getting calls.
We do
We
go
will-
there
well-
for Wellington details and we will go there for calls.
Yes, well,
So, but I don't think we're there.
put someone there 10 hours a day, Saturday and Sunday.
No.
I did want to thank, I guess, the road crew, the trash can, I'm calling it the trash can, the sand bucket at the spring, which is often a trash can. I've emptied it a bunch of times, it has been taken out and gone. I think, again, the sand bucket works good, but thank you to the road crew for doing that without me asking them, or without, unless they haven't asked them. And last thing, where are we on Memorial Day?
I'm meeting with Blake Robbins. We've tried to contact Ron. He hasn't been available. So I emailed Blake Robbins and he would like to step up to run it. But we're going, and I'll do the application for the parade permit firm. I've emailed him tonight because I hadn't been here to see if I could meet with him tomorrow or Tuesday or Monday.
Okay.
So working on that.
Perfect, let him know. My son, John, said he would do whatever they need him to do. He's been carrying the American flag for the last 10 years at least anyway, so. And as far as that goes, whoever does it might want to remind the school to make sure there's a new flag, both flags on the flagpole, i.e. 3 years ago when they were both in tatters.
That's not good.
And that they need to make arrangements with the janitor to have an extension cord coming through the window in the front for the power, for the sound system. That's all I got.
You may just thought of two things, if I can step in for a second. There is an ice rink forum scheduled, invitations are being worked on, I will get those out tomorrow, but so that the select board is aware, May 14th at the Old Town Hall. The public, I've asked for representatives from highway, police, and fire to be there. I've gotten highways right now, because I think it's a good, they need to be really involved in that conversation as well, but it's scheduled, I don't have the flyer in front of me.
It's 6 p.m.
6 p.m. and it'll be at the Old Town Hall up here.
Yep.
And then Wayne Hemingway is spearheading this group. So if we are asked if we can RSVP. So when I send out the invitations, if you could just let me know and I'll RSVP for the group. So, I did get another thank you and I printed it, but it didn't make it to my folder. After the concerns that we discussed about Kelly Park and putting them through the correct channels, but I did get a note. Please pass along a hearty thank you to the Highway Department for their work on the fields at Kelly Park. Outstanding, they look great. Thank you for your help as well, something to be proud of. And that came from one of Rick Alpers.
Yes.
Said that, so.
They did come in and do a great job of getting that field ready for baseball, so it was good.
Did they edge it and
What? Yeah, it looks good. Field
they
looks
edged
good.
it and dragged it?
Dan was happy with the way it looked, so yeah.
Awesome.
It looked good.
Good,
Nobody
good.
was complaining about it.
And Frick's happy, we're good.
There are some.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Well, and we did the whole thing, there we go.
All right. So do we have to, as a board, do we have to be at the skating rink thing? No, all right.
Just
No.
if you wanted to.
Okay.
The ice rink forum,
Yeah.
this gentleman has been interested in getting an ice rink
It's been on
up
Facebook.
and running.
Ice rink, I
the
thought you
first-
said ice cream.
Oh, yeah, I did that.
Ice
Yeah.
skating,
Ice
ice skating area. How's
So
that?
they are, he has come to the Bristol Community Events Group and they can't take this on. So they did help make the invitations and the advertising for him and organize it. And so I'm sending out all the invites to the committees. Wes has got her group to send to. And so we're hoping that the public will come out and see what they can do.
Superintendent shared it with all of his staff and administrators, so that was good.
So again, we can't use the hot tub where it used to be, is that correct?
The basketball courts.
That sheds water this way, so no.
It's like a.
And with the location where it was last time, it's
Maybe
not
not
ideal
quite
either.
this way, but enough of a
It's
pitch
just
that the water
ground.
runs off because of the basketball court.
What if they did it down below that, in that low
You
spot?
should go to that meeting.
Yeah, no,
Go to the meeting.
Yeah.
That's
was
that's
fun.
not for us to
That's
figure out
still not
here.
ours, that,
Yeah.
we're facilitating the meeting, because if you can get a group of committed volunteers, that's what it's gonna take to make it happen.
Right.
So I won't be here, but I'll remind you guys that there was a 2-inch water line that went right up by the shed, by the basketball court that used to be before the ice rink.
Yeah.
Where it is, where the outlet is now, who knows, it wasn't inside the building, but just remember that.
July, just to follow up on Carol's question, we only have one meeting in July, and that is July 18th right now, unless something major comes up.
Okay, thank you.
The fireworks committee meets May 9th. I've got no representative from police, fire. I did have a non-public on that, but Rob's not here. So May 9th, we've gotten a couple of interested parties, but they've been appointed. One won't be here, won't be back in until after May 9th anyway. So, I'll talk to the board about them later.
Scott? I don't think I have anything.
I was
No, the
gonna
crews,
say-
the streets are looking great, picked up. There was a lot of there's been a lot of chatter about, Lake Street, how rough it is, the pavement, which, it's a state road.
It's a state road, yeah.
But didn't they say they were gonna pave it?
They are doing it this summer, or at
So
least skim coating it, doing something with it this summer.
Jeff attended the DOT meeting for me Tuesday. He was going and I was gonna go with him, but I ended up home. He did go. They're talking about doing Lake Street. They're also talking about West Shore Road. They mentioned they were gonna do West Shore Road in July, and the concern was that's gonna be the busiest time of year. Don't do it in July. Today at that meeting, the DOT supervisor asked me if we had more information, and I said, no. But I said that I would try to get back to him as soon as possible. Tying the loop still on all the paperwork is, we have been approved for the interim financing. I signed the paperwork. We're on that project and we're getting ready to go, but getting all that paperwork back to USDA has been a struggle. And we are getting a request from the EDA to do quarterly reporting, but we haven't been approved for the money. So I reached back out to him and he hasn't responded to me. So I think we're 30 days is coming up soon. And we've already talked to Underwood Engineering about that, so.
And the project up towards Overshawn that's still part of that, correct?
It is, but this is a 30-day deadline is coming up that I asked the board to consider. And so the EDA emailed us asking us for quarterly reporting, and my response was, okay, great, we can do the quarterly reporting, but can you tell me, have you approved our amended scope yet? Are we good to go forward with this or not? And I've gotten no response, so.
Anything else, Scott?
No, not that I can think of.
You get
I
everything
just
together?
got an update.
As much as I'm going to, June 27th, no, not June 27th, it is June 27th, is the Community Day, where all the town departments and it was, what was the, celebrating police and fire.
Was that the lights up?
Oh,
National.
the
National Night Out,
National
now it's
Night
we do a community night out. So we have entertainment, we've had donations for the food, so there'll be burgers and dogs and chips and other stuff. And Claire has gotten quite a few sponsors for our superhero sponsors for the summer events. So that's gonna be a great night, hopefully no rain. The other thing, which I'm not really sure what we wanna do, there's been some issues at the park with kids that are not being attended to by their families in a way that some of us might expect. And so last night became an issue when I got to a game because there was was some kids that were climbing the tree right at the top of, behind the backstop. And I guess a number of parents before I got there had spoken to them, and they chose to not listen. And then I got there and I said, hey, kids, trees, I'm not getting into this. But then one of the kids got out far enough on the tree and was bouncing the branch that it was becoming concerning that if the branch broke, somebody was gonna get hurt, be it the kid or the people that are sitting in that area. So I did go ask the child to get out of the tree, and was met by, why do I have to, and who do you think you are? And I did say that, you know, I'm one of the people that manages the park, and I need you, it's a safety thing, you're getting out there, we're concerned for you, but we're also concerned for the people sitting there. So the parent ended up coming over, and I went over just to let her know, you know, I did speak to the kids, I hope you're okay with that. It appears not, and it became an issue of my kids can climb any tree they want to, and nobody's gonna tell them otherwise. And that you told my kid you own the park, which I said, I did not say that in any way, shape, or form. So it has blown up now. The same children had to be asked to leave the outfield of the baseball field because they were infringing on play on the baseball field. So it's become this big thing. That's why I've been looking at my phone, because the baseball committee met tonight, and they said when they went by the park, 2 kids were in that tree again, way up top. And they're concerned about a safety issue, so they did talk to Chris Bean, because he's on baseball, and he said that he will speak with one of the other parent this weekend, but also that he thought that people could say, call the police if they feel it's a safety issue, they can call the police and have them come. My concern is, I don't think the baseball commission can make any stands because they're the baseball commission for the center. But I think we, as a board, need to decide if it's okay to say something, and if we think it's a safety issue. It is a slippery slope, and basically, in this situation, it was basically, my kids can do whatever they want, and you're not gonna stop them. But then it became a report from out of town that was saying that there was drinking and smoking at the field last night. I was at the field the whole time. No, that's something I would pick up on right away. I saw nobody smoking. If they were, they must have been on the road. And it ties in with the fact that we spoke to these children, that now we're getting these complaints. And one of them was that the group that was drinking was the group I was with. It was it was our teams, the TTCC teams. Nobody was doing anything wrong except they had spoken to these children. So my concern is this is gonna boil over, because now the season's just starting. This is a recurring thing now. It's happened again tonight. It happened last night. And we need to, I just need some guidance from the board as to what are the parameters. If Chris is saying from a police standpoint that he thinks that they can say this is a safety issue and you need to stop, but I think we're gonna get pushback from, so I don't know.
Kids have been climbing those trees for years.
Right.
And some, on the lower levels for the most part.
They're at the top of
Hanging off
these.
the branches.
And my concern last night was more the tree branch would break.
Yeah,
Because
no,
they were high enough and
Yeah.
out far enough that it was bending, and I was worried about it breaking. Not so much for the kid, because that's up to the family, but also our families are sitting on that banking too.
I mean, it is town property. If they're damaging the tree, that's vandalism. If you wanna go that
They
far.
have to wait till it breaks though.
Right.
Right, once it breaks.
And
But
then
if they're also out in the field, it's, public nuisance, public
infringing on
disturbance.
play.
Yeah, that's
So-
public
Or
disturbance.
the umpire,
The police is gonna have,
the umpire rules the field, if there's one.
They did have to go
So-
out and stop and tell them that they needed to leave the field of play.
Right. So even they can control what's in the fans. The umpires can. The umpires have the right to, if they're distracting the play or right? I believe they have that right,
I
so.
think it.
If the umpire does
I do
it,
think it's a slippery slope, but I don't
Yeah.
think your umpire would be, that you would be asking them to step out of the field of play to deal with us spectators.
Right,
Well,
they
yeah.
could stop the game to make sure a kid in the field didn't get hit or hurt.
Right.
Until they're out of the way.
But so this board, the baseball board tonight, you know, they wanna put some sort of rules into play as to how to deal with this, because they can see it's gonna be an out of control issue with the season. And I don't feel that that's under our purview to figure out, but I do think we need to figure it out because it's gonna be an issue.
maybe we ask the town attorney.
Well, you're gonna have, I would think that you would have to have some kind of rules put into your Kelly Park rules and regulations.
Yeah.
We have,
there's
we haven't
liability.
reviewed those for a while,
And is climbing a tree one of the rules that we wanna put in?
No.
right?
You don't wanna spoil everybody else's fun for a few people that cause a problem, because that's what happens so often in so many.
Yeah.
Well, back when the big tree behind the old big, was it an L, whatever that was,
Yeah.
the kids were climbing that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but,
But there's also a liability issue for the town.
Well, yeah.
yeah.
You know?
Well, my stand when I got
My
there
kid
was
can
kids
climb
as
any
kids,
tree he
kids
wants to,
climbing.
I'll just sue you.
Well, and that's why we need to ask the lawyer.
But I don't think it, I mean, I think if you ask Primex, who is our liability
Wow.
carrier, who is one of your
Right.
coaches, they're going to tell us that's a huge liability.
Yeah.
But I can talk to our regular Primex person
Yeah.
and find out. But we
Right, but
also,
we can't monitor that 24 hours a day.
No, but
but if
that's
that's
the
something
problem
right,
is when one of us is there. Now, Rob and I were both there last night.
Yeah.
But if one of us is there and we're seeing something,
Yeah.
it's a little more difficult for me because I'm on the Kelly Park
Yeah.
Committee. And so we do have some authority to say things
Sure.
about being on the field, but I don't wanna see this just become,
Oh, it'll explode on social media.
yeah,
Is it a local family?
it is.
Okay. Just not like it was a,
No,
yeah.
no.
That's involved in the league in baseball.
I don't think, I'm not sure. I didn't look to see that. They were definitely not involved in play last night
Yeah.
at the softball field.
So,
I do think you have to give some guidance to coaches or other people that are on the field, obviously, because if they're concerned, and they obviously are having that conversation, you don't want them potentially dealing with it themselves, because it could explode.
And that's what was starting to happen last night when I got to the field.
so can an umpire suspend the game, say there's too much distraction, there's too much going on, we're back. I'm calling a timeout until things are calmed down.
But that's punishing the
And
kids.
somebody's
in the
gonna have to
game.
take care of it.
Okay, so
I know,
I know what you're saying.
yeah.
But I also know what it's like being on the field, and I also know that last night, my decision after I was not gonna be listened to, and basically the parent came back and had her kids go back up in the tree, that whatever, I'm not getting involved in this anymore, I'm not gonna escalate this.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
all of these families here who are already brewing about the whole thing,
Yep,
I'm not escalating, I'm done, so.
There have been incidents where I stopped and told the kid to get off the roof of the,
It's
Of
very
the dugout.
simple, and that
and
happened
he would
this week
listen to
too.
me, so I'd call the police, because
Yeah.
he looked at me like, you can't tell me to get down, and I'm like, yeah, I can, get
And
down.
and that's a little more clearly a
Yes,
vandalism type
correct.
of issue, so. But
But
I'm just putting it out there, we can think
Yeah.
about it, but I can see that this is not gonna go away.
Yeah.
Cause now I'm getting all these texts about it, and what I'm gonna have to tell my group is, this is not our issue, that this is a town
Yeah.
issue, we're gonna have to let them figure out how we deal with it.
Anything under the Kelly Park rules.
And we haven't looked at them for a
Yeah.
long time, it probably is going to at least look at them and decide how we
I
want
mean,
it.
there really haven't been that many trees that were climb worthy down there for a while.
No, they've gotten bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's just general disturbance in other ways too, though. It's not just the tree issue. If they're out in the field and
Right.
things like that, I don't know, can Chris have somebody just, whoever's on duty, maybe just hang out for a little bit down there.
It's been a little busy though.
Hmm?
They've been extremely busy. I mean, we.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But I mean, it doesn't hurt for them to stop by and hang out.
But yeah, at least put it on their, put it on their,
Their routines.
yeah, if there's a word for it I can't think of right now. Their usual route.
Right, so the choices are,
Sometimes just having,
eventually you tell these people you can't come here, right, and you don't wanna go there.
Oh,
no,
no, I'm not.
but sometimes just,
I mean, in the long,
Yeah.
run, is us we would be saying that.
yeah, just having an officer's presence there will sometimes settle down a lot of stuff.
Well, there is, I mean, if it continues to become a nuisance and a hazard, I think there are rules in the ordinance, you could potentially find them, but do you wanna go that route, obviously,
right.
either? But-
No, like I
Well,
said, just having a
perhaps
presence.
Saturday's conversation will go better than
Yeah.
mine did, and we'll see. Not with me, Chris is having that conversation.
Yeah. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Anything I have is I probably will not make the May 16th meeting either.
You're missing it too?
Hmm?
My birthday. I'm here for it. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I wanted to reschedule.
I can zoom in if you need.
Well, no, well, because that means two of you. I can't do Zoom. I need three in the room specifically.
Who else?
Oh,
Carol can't be here. He's gonna be on Zoom. You can't be here. So you three have, Rob, you, and Scott will have to be here. We can't have a meeting.
I can be, I thought that was the week I was away, but it isn't, it's next week.
I was gonna reschedule because the next day I'm gonna be out, just so that you're aware. As I do, I'm like, no, I'm not getting my dental started on my birthday, thank you.
yeah.
But I couldn't because of the specific timeline on these parsonage hearings.
That's
So,
right.
so we have to have that or we have to start over.
Right.
So I need three of you here or we have to start over, just so I'll talk
I'll be
about.
I'll be here.
Okay.
I just bopped down from Pittsburgh, come to the meeting.
There's talk of chainsaws and,
I'll be in Pennsylvania, so.
No, you don't have to pop down from Pittsburgh, but I don't want to start over
No,
the parsonage hearings.
As long as there's a quorum in the room.
I just have to have a quorum in the room.
All right. Public comments.
Kate, what do you got?
Yeah, there we go. That's good. That was good.
Who did that?
Thank you very much.
Oh, I thought it's an app on the phone.
That's good.
Sorry.
Anything else for the good of the cause?
He's a musician.
All right. Les, I think there's a motion you need to make.
I did make a motion to adjourn
Oh,
at
okay.
9:11.
Thank you.
second that,
All right, all in favor?
I.
Aye.
All right.